And we should be live. Hello, everybody. We are back with the latest edition of Rook Club, and I am joined with the most extensive, largest cast yet. Let me bring up Discord. We have joining us, returning, we have Tiny. Say hello, Tiny.
Hello.
We have Waxy returning. Say hello, Waxy.
What's up, guys?
We have Emily returning.
Hello.
And then we have Haven from last week returning.
Hello, everyone.
And then, and then brand new, we have Nooble.
Hi, everybody.
We have Half Pint.
Hello.
We have Justin.
Yeah.
And then we have LB.
Hi.
So we have the bit, and I also do have Sasha, my good friend, who is also. We have her recording a particular character at the very end. But jumping straight into this, I always like to ask new guests is what Dragon Age means to you, and we're just going to go through this. So Nooble, just in any kind of regard whatsoever, what does Dragon Age mean to you, just in terms of the series as a whole?
It's my comfort game. Like, I've been in love with the fantasy and magical world and everything since my preschool years when my mom took me to go see Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah.
And The Lord of the Rings. So I've just been in love with that. And then one year she bought the game just on a whim because it said Dragon Age, and I love dragons.
Yeah.
So my freshman year, I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this. And I fell in love with it. So I finished Dragon Age 2 shortly after, I want to say, my sophomore year in high school. And I was like, man, this is really good. And I was like doing some research, and I found out Inquisition was around the corner. So I kind of jumped on the band train for that a little late.
Yeah.
I didn't get any of the collector's edition, but I pre-ordered it because I had a job for the first time. I bought it with my own money. I was so excited. And I'm even more excited because now I have a job, like a full job. I get paid, and I've just been going all out with Dragon Age the Veilguard.
Oh, hell yeah. Have you got the Rook's Coffers edition?
Yep.
Hell yeah.
I got everything.
Yeah.
I've gotten everything.
So, do you have Inquisition's Collector's Edition?
So, I went on Amazon or eBay, and I actually went and bought it that way.
Oh, can you take some pictures of it if you've got it? Because I'd love to see what that looks like. Honestly,
I will. I'll go into my storage room and I'll pull it out.
Hell yeah. Oh, sick. I've also
In there, like some relic.
Yeah. I have it safe in there because I don't want it to get ruined until I get my plates all sorted out.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic.
But it's been like my obsession forever. I talk about the game and the franchise all the time with my family, but you know, they're sweet. They listen to me even though they have no idea what I'm talking about. And I'm so honored to be here because now I can just geek out with all you guys. This is
absolutely. Hell yes. Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's all about. Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's what it means.
Yeah, it's sick. Same question to you, Half Pint. What does Dragon Age mean to you?
Well, I'm kind of a later in life gamer. I didn't start playing video games until like maybe 2 years ago. And I picked up Inquisition because it looked really cool. And then I went down the rabbit hole and became completely obsessed. And now my partner probably wishes I would stop talking about it. And I never do.
Never.
And then I played the other two games and I love those as well. And it's just been just an obsession since then.
Absolutely. No, I completely...
It's like a comfort thing also. Like, it's really, every time I hear the Inquisition soundtrack, I'm like, oh, home.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, especially Lost Elf theme. And then I curl into a ball and cry.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Every time.
No, then I cry.
And then, Justin, same question to you. What does Dragon Age mean to you?
Kind of the same as, like, it's my comfort game for sure, but I know, like, I accidentally came upon, like, the game as a whole on accident. Like, and then he was trying to get me to play Divinity originally, and I had accidentally went to the store and bought Dragon Age by mistake, and I just fell in love with it.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, yeah.
Best mistake ever.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and
right? Literally.
Literally, look at it. Look at how that journey is taking you now from that mistake to You know.
Justin, you were fated to be one of us.
Yeah. You were.
One of us.
Yes.
You're in it. You can't leave now.
Ever.
And then LB, same question to you. What does Dragon Age mean to you?
Oh, my answer is going to be a bit longer, I think.
Go for it. Go for it. Hell yeah.
Okay, so what Dragon Age means for me is, well, quite literally it saved my life at some point. I've been struggling with mental and physical health pretty much all my life, and somewhere when I was like 14 years old, I think, I was really, really deep, and everything was so bleak, and at some point I saw my brother playing a video game, and on that video game I saw some blue shiny man darting across the battlefield. And I was like, okay, who's that? And that was Fenris, and then my brother let me play Dragon Age 2, and I just entirely fell in love with it, but not just like what Dragon Age was, but just the way you can fully immerse yourself in it and just be there and exist there. And so that kind of got me through that that very dark period, but also it gave me the motivation, because I'm like an artist and a writer myself, to be like, okay, that's my goal, that's my motivation, that's what I'm gonna do with my life. So it's always been the thing that I like draw back to, like, why am I here? Oh, I'm here to create something that makes people feel just like Dragon Age makes me feel. So it's, you know, it's also one of my hyperfixations, one of my special interests. So it's always in my mind. But like now with Veilguard coming up, I'm thriving.
Oh, absolutely.
It's amazing.
And I can already know the answer to this, but to everybody, how excited are we for the Veilguard?
So excited.
Oh my god.
I'm so hyped.
Cannot wait.
About.
The symphony of voices, I love
I
it.
can't sleep anymore.
I think you got a super chat.
Oh, Ivan asked me, what does Dragon Age mean to me? I appreciate the super chat, Ivan. You know what? I will save that question for the Dreadwolf Turkey, and I will answer that one at the end. Yeah, no, but Dragon Age means a lot to me. I mean, for the biggest thing that it means to me right now is the amazing community that I've been able to cultivate just by sheerly creating the content that I do. To be able to talk to all these amazing people, have such a brilliant Discord, and just genuinely find a place in this community that is affectionate, amazing, lovely, and kind. Full of the nicest kinds of people, because the internet can be a scary, scary place, and putting yourself out there on YouTube with the kinds of content I create. I mean, right now I'm literally wearing a tinfoil hat, drinking lime tea with a French bulldog mug. You know, I'm a very kind of a sensitive soul, and I have found such a lovely community, regardless of the hate, the negativity that you just see in the Dragon Age sphere of social media in itself. The community that we have is amazing. It's so just brilliant, and it's the sole reason that I create content is for the community. I think you can just see that for the videos I make. It's what do people want to see? What do they want from my kind of content? And it's brilliant to be able to do that and just create content where I'm like, you know what, wearing a silly tinfoil hat, spitballing about my foul, and people actually enjoy that content. Not actually, but people enjoy that content. So for me, it means so much. But at the moment, that's what it means. So thank you all for providing that safe space and that brilliant place that we do have where we can enjoy that. I will say, chat, please, can we not talk about spoilers just ahead of time? Because even like me, I know people here and just on my channel, we are in a kind of a state of just trying not to spoil anything. I'm trying to be a safe space for it too. Even the types of content we're all creating, and even in the story, I know people have seen things about certain characters. We just want to try and keep this just based on this particular story, and I would say bits of content pre-embargo, so we can talk about like the reveal trailer from 2 months ago, and like the other bits of content like the Dragon Age short stories. But other than that, regarding these characters, please can we keep this just a spoiler-safe place, just for those who haven't seen or haven't heard. Yeah, just keep it safe for all of us, so we can at least aim to go into the Veilguard as spoiler-free as possible. Any non-spoilery thoughts on what we've seen so far, folks? Anything that has caught people's attentions in a non-spoiler way?
The gameplay looks amazing to me.
Oh yeah.
I'm excited. It looks great.
Yeah, it looks stunning.
I am very excited to see how like fluid the combat is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, the fluidity
Oh my
of
god,
it.
yeah, it looks so fun to play. Now I can't wait to play a mage instead of just standing around and shooting spells. Get to
Yeah.
move around and stuff. It looks so
Special
fun.
effects, they look
I'm
so
just
good.
very glad that the Kunari people that we've seen so far were just the default.
Yeah.
And there's some really good looking Kunari out there.
Yeah, there are some
Yes,
good looking
there is.
ones.
But now
Yeah.
I feel fine about
I
it.
mean,
so.
I cannot get that Chad
The-
Nari out of my head. The one, and it's
He can't hurt you.
such a strong
Yeah.
jaw, and it's
He
like,
can't hurt you
damn.
anymore.
Handsome
Damn.
Squidward Kunari, no.
Yeah.
Lucas in the chat asks, is that the same tinfoil hat you wore 3 to 4 years ago, or did you just remake them the other day? I think I've had this one since I moved into this place in 2021. Yeah, it's been standing.
It's the same
for-
one.
I'm kind of sad that
Sentimental.
we don't have our tinfoil hats.
Oh, I forgot about that. I mean,
Forgot about
there
it.
were so many people to make tinfoil hats for everybody.
Oh, I should have went and made my own.
That would have been so
Yeah.
fun.
That is true. That is true.
I got plenty of tinfoil.
Like,
I am.
Rook Club, we all need to make tinfoil hats, and then the pictures that we use, like, on
True.
stream, we have to send in
Yes.
us.
I will.
Yes, the
Tinfoil hats.
tinfoil hat.
Yeah.
I'll show you a
Yes.
picture of my dog's Halloween costume 2 years ago. I wonder what.
Oh.
Yes, please
I
do.
wonder what I wrapped him in.
I'm so excited.
Where did I put that? It's in this one.
So it's not even a tinfoil hat at this point, it's just this
Yeah. Where is
tinfoil
he?
armor.
Oh, there he is. There he is. And I will show everything.
Oh my god, he's so cute.
Oh, he is
Oh,
ready.
There he is. There he is.
That's
Look
adorable.
at that. That's a warrior.
It looks
I
like
wish
a
I could put my
safety
cat in
harness
that.
in it.
He looks like a warrior. It's fantastic. So
brilliant.
cute.
It's so
He's
well
ready to fight
insulated.
Darkspawn.
He's ready for
Yes.
Veilguard. He is so ready. My little bag spawn. My little bag spawn. Hello, DeCaster. Good to see you.
Little face.
Oh.
Oh.
With that, we will jump into the Wigmaker job. So this is one of the best stories in Tevinter Nights, honestly, and we have such a fantastic cast for this one. We are taking a trip to Verantium, one of the cities in Tevinter. A few small connected characters, but generally this is an all-new cast, and it has pretty big implications for the Veilguard, because one of these characters will be joining us as a companion. I will say no more than that. And just to reiterate for those joining, please can we avoid any new kind of spoilers that we may have on these particular characters, just for those who, like myself, want to kind of stay away from that and want to enjoy it for themselves. We can talk about the trailers, we can talk about the books, we can talk about the short stories, but anything actually in the game, can we please try and avoid? Other than that, we're going to be jumping into the Wigmaker job, and then after we will be talking about any key points that was raised, any speculative notions, any thoughts on the characters that immediately come to mind, as well as any other theories. With that, is everybody ready? Do we have tea? Do we have wine? Are we ready to jump into Rook Club?
Yeah.
Ready when you are.
Ready.
Oh, so ready.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Right. Let me clear my throat. Okay, let's jump in. So the Wigmaker job by Courtney Woods, who unfortunately isn't at BioWare anymore. Really, really sad shame, because she's done a fantastic job with these characters. But yeah, Wigmaker job. So, in a cold, dark room beneath the streets of Rantium, Amberos Forfex prepared for the wig show of the season. Using a thimble as a gauge for thickness, he measured out a lock of hair. His slender fingers brushed through the strands. The silky texture made him tremble. There were no imperfections, no split ends, no breakage, only hair, lush and velvety, in its purest form. A throaty sigh escaped the Wigmaker's lips.
Lawless.
The approaching pitter-patter of footsteps interrupted the moment. His moment. 2 hooded figures stopped at the entrance of the Wigmaker's workshop. They didn't dare enter.
Ambrose, we need to talk.
One of them said.
Your boots sound like dead fish slapping against cobblestone.
Amberos sniffed.
Upstairs.
The other replied. Amberos let the tresses slip ever so delicately through his fingertips.
I'll return soon.
He murmured, then followed the pair up the staircase to the main living quarters. Only when they were safely in the sitting room with the curtains drawn did the figures lower their hoods. They were both Altus, the highest class of mage in the Tevinter Imperium.
Sorry, I was muted. You need to cancel the event.
Crispin Cavlo stated. His father was a magister, and he had grand plans to follow in his footsteps.
Need?
Ambrose mocked.
How dramatic.
This is serious.
Felicia Ehrman said her brother Livius had introduced Ambrose to the Venatori, opened his eyes to a future where the Imperium could once again be great.
Someone's put a contract on your head, just like the others. The crows are coming.
She whispered the last part as if those words alone could summon the infamous assassins. Ambrose stifled a groan.
Dragon does not fear the crow.
It does when it's already killed 8 other dragons.
Crispin snapped. He had begun to sweat. His eyes darted towards the closed doors and windows like a caged animal's.
Look at you. Quivering over Antivan propaganda.
Ambrose levelled the man with an unimpressed glare.
This is why the Imperium is in shambles.
Without warning, the Wigmaker grabbed Crispin's arm. The younger mage winced and tried to pull away as Ambrose dug a pointed thumbnail into his forearm. Blood, crimson and thick, seeped from underneath the nail.
Crows are flesh and blood, nothing more.
He muttered a quick spell to close the wound.
The show will go on.
Crispin jerked back and held his freshly healed arm against his chest. Ambrose crossed the room to a small but well-stocked bar. All this talk of Antiva was making him thirsty.
The man who's taken the contract is no ordinary crow.
Felicia explained, careful to keep her voice steady. Ambrose uncorked the wine with a wave of his hand and began pouring it into a crystal decanter.
He's Lucanus Della Morte.
The bottle clanked against a crystal, a crack splintering down the glass.
Ah.
Goosebumps pebbled the Wigmaker's neck. He set the decanter back on the counter and sighed.
Shit.
In an unassuming inn, on an unassuming road, Lucanus Della Morte sat with a whetstone in hand, his favourite sword resting across his knees. The monotonous movement of grinding stone against metal soothed him. 7 daggers of various size and shape lay polished and glistening on a rough wool blanket at his feet. Music, mixed with laughter and gossip, choked through the floorboards. Lucanus closed his eyes. His mind separated the sounds until they painted a picture. A waitress rushed from the kitchen. 2 lovers took advantage of a shadowy booth. Their lips smacked together, wet and wanton. A man cheated at wicked grace. The card up his sleeve strained against the starched fabric of his shirt. None is a threat. He relaxed.
You're not wearing that, are you?
Ilario asked, while admiring his own reflection. Lucanus glanced down at his ensemble. The jet leather greatcoat and black-on-black suit might have been conspicuous during the day, but for a night job, it was the tactical choice. He compared his outfit to his cousin's high-collared, navy and gold tunic. It was something an Antivan thought a Vint would wear.
At least I don't look like a tourist,
he replied, a faint smile tugging at his lips. Ilario spritzed his hair with oil and slicked it back with both hands.
No, you look like you're ready to attend a funeral. Oh, you
Very
look like you're
funny.
attending a funeral.
Very funny.
Lucanus said flatly, and returned to sharpening his blade.
It's a job, not a party.
Actually, it's a job at a party. Might as well look our best.
Ilario flicked open a straight razor to trim an errant follicle of stubble that was ruining his otherwise pristine 5 o'clock shadow.
Any excuse to primp.
Hey, I'm only here because of you. We should be halfway
grumbled.
home right now. Only the great Lucanus de la Morte could delay a summons from the first Talon herself.
Lucanus set his sword aside. Ilario was generally thick-skinned, except when it came to their grandmother. Katerina can hardly... Oh, sorry, you go. Sorry, I thought that was...
No, I think that...
That's you.
No, yeah, I think that's me.
Yeah.
That's me.
Katerina can hardly complain. She's the one who beat into me my commitment to contracts.
Memories of sweat-filled days without water or food came unbidden. Lucanus's back tinged from where his grandmother's cane had bruised his flesh for letting his guard down or fumbling his footwork. For years, he'd hated her. But his time as a master assassin had since taught Lucanus that Katerina's cruelty was her way of making sure that he was prepared for this life, that he survived.
All that effort, training and grooming us, and the old woman still won't step aside.
Beneath the bitterness in Ilario's tone was something rotten.
Your time will come.
Lucanus assured him.
We
Ilario's piercing gaze met Lucanus's in the mirror.
People talk. You've always been her favorite.
He'd heard the rumours. For all their secrets and intrigue, the Antivan Crows were a chatty bunch.
My talents lie elsewhere.
Lucanus said, gesturing toward the arsenal around him.
You're the one with the silver tongue.
So, if she named you her heir to the House Del, you'd refuse?
Lucanus opened his mouth to respond, when he realised someone was creeping up the stairs. He listened. The footsteps were too quiet, too sure to belong to a drunk. A servant? Doubtful. When he'd bought out the floor, Lucanus had given the innkeeper explicit instructions to keep her people downstairs. That left the Venatori, unless someone else on his long list of enemies had found him.
Lucanus!
Ilario pressed. He held up a hand and clutched the worn leather grip of his sword. Ilario's pretty boy mask slipped as a coldness flooded his features. A retractable dagger shot out from under his sleeve. The intruder was at the top of the stairs and moving closer. Lucanus motioned Ilario to talk again.
This isn't cacao e pepe.
Ilario complained while making a show of tapping his dagger against a plate of leftovers.
You ordered an Antivan dish in Tevinter. What did you expect?
Lucanus replied. Talking now meant the intruder wouldn't know where he'd be later.
Something edible.
Ilario quipped. In 3 quick, silent strides, Lucanus positioned himself next to the suite's entrance. He could hear someone breathing on the other side. Their gloved fingers hugged the wall for cover. Lucanus could have laughed. People put too much faith in walls. Rearing back, he thrust his sword through wood and plaster until it hit bone and kept going. A shriek echoed through the hall, followed by a thud. Lucanus stood and stalked through the door. A hooded man, wiry and mustached, was trying to pull his impaled hand free. A major's staff lay next to him. Upon seeing Lucanus, he reached for it. Energy, raw and potent, charged the air. The back of Lucanus's eyeball itched, a physical instinct he had developed when someone was tapping into the fade. Ooh. He clapped a hand over the mage's mouth and slammed his skull against the wall.
Knock it off.
Dazed, the mage dropped his staff. The energy dissipated. Lucanus grabbed the man by the collar and yanked him toward the door, causing the blade to carve an L-shaped slice through his skewered palm. Ilario waited with a chair and rope.
Sit down.
He beamed.
Enjoy a little Antivan hospitality.
While his cousin secured their prisoner's bindings, Lucanus retrieved his sword from the wall. The mage was coming to. His unfocused eyes took stock of his situation. Do we have somebody for the mage? I don't think we do, unless it's Crispin. It's not Crispin, is it?
No.
I will do it.
I think it's something different.
I won't talk, he spat. Even if you torture me.
I'm too busy to torture you.
Lucanus said, and ran him through with his sword. Shock swept across the mage's gaunt face. Beneath a trembling moustache, his lips were wet with blood. He tried to speak. The words got clogged in his throat. He stumbled forward. Ilario frowned.
If I'd known you were just going to kill him, I wouldn't have put so much effort into the knots.
Check his pockets.
Ah,
Ilario said, pulling a scroll from the mage's jacket.
found something.
The seal was broken, but the imprint of 2 dragons was still visible in the wax.
Venatori.
Not as much. What's it say?
Ilario unrolled the parchment and scanned the page.
Gallant brothers and sisters. In our veins runs true Tevinter blood, passed down from dreams.
Ilario's head snapped up as Lucanus began pulling his sword from the mage's chest.
Careful! Remember the tanner job? You ruined my best shirt.
Lucanus smirked and continued extracting the blade. Ilario took 2 weary steps back, then continued reading.
The importance of vigilance. It's our maker given right. Blah, blah, blah. Ah, here. The Venatori will not cower to foreign mercenaries.
No, they'll just die to them. The blade slipped cleanly from the wound.
Anything else?
Whoever clips the crow's wings will walk by my side when we enter the Black City and take back glory for the Imperium.
Ilario lowered the scroll, perplexed.
Well, that doesn't seem worth it.
That's because you're not a true believer. Except when it comes to coin.
Ilario shrugged, unabashed, then handed Lucanus the scroll.
It's signed A. Seems our mark doesn't want to Christ's party.
Lucanus stuck the scroll on the dead mage's chest.
He's going to be disappointed.
Downstairs, the tavern's nightly merriment continued. The crows cut striking figures as they meandered through tipsy, twirling dancers and sidestepped servants bearing plates of stew and fresh bread. Both men were lean, with dark hair and umber eyes. Ilario was all smiles. His was a calculated handsomeness, from his smooth skin to his perfect white teeth. Everything was contrived to be enticing. As they walked through the crowd, he basked in the appreciative glances he received, while Lucanus stared ahead, focused and intense. He was the kind of man you couldn't look away from, until he looked at you. When the innkeeper spotted them, her ruddy cheeks paled. Lucanus sidled up to the bar and slid 2 sovereigns across the uneven wood.
What a mess.
He whispered, watching her throat bubble. The innkeeper dropped the coins into her apron's front pocket with shaky fingers and avoided his gaze until she was sure he was gone.
You know,
Ilario said as they left the inn.
she's likely the one who leaked our whereabouts to the Venatori.
Lucanus breathed in the night air. Every city had its scent. Verantium's was spiced meat mixed with wet laundry.
I'm aware.
And you're paying her because...
Innkeepers like to gossip. The customers, employees, other innkeepers. Next time the Venatori want information on the uneven crows, she'll know who to back. And she'll tell her friends.
Lucanus started down the street. Ilario trailed behind at a casual pace.
So, what's the plan? Now that Ambrose knows we're coming.
I always assume the mark knows where I'm coming.
Lucanus replied.
We were never going through the front door.
Ilario sped up to catch his cousin.
I bought this!
He gestured towards his tunic.
Because you said we were dispatching Tevinter's premier Wigmaker at an exclusive party. Emphasis on exclusive.
Uh-huh.
It was a rush order. We were with the tailor for hours.
I recall.
Lucanus took a sharp turn down an alley. Above them, balconies jutted out like cramped elbows finding space in a crowd. A cat hissed in the distance.
Why would you let me go through the motions of purchasing formal wear for an event we're not actually attending?
I know how much you enjoy dressing up.
Lucanus goaded and ducked under a pointed archway.
Only if I'm going to be seen.
Ilario groaned. His boot stepped in something squishy and foul-smelling.
And why are we in the dog shit part of town? Shouldn't a high-ranking member of the Venatori live in a mansion?
He does. We're taking a shortcut.
The archway led to a courtyard. Patches of brown grass, treaded and uncared for, encircled the statue of a scorched Venendal, an elven tree of the people. The real tree had burned down after a slave rebellion. The masters commissioned the current statue as a reminder of the price for rising against them. Somehow, Lucanus didn't think it had the intended effect.
A shortcut that leads to a dead end. How novel.
Ilario muttered and pulled the collar of his tunic closer to his nose. Lucanus ignored him and approached the tree. The brass, skeletal branches had produced a layer of patina, and streaks of erosion lined the bark. He ran his fingers across the trunk until he found a groove that gave way, opening a secret passage. Lucanus tossed a smug look over his shoulder.
You were saying?
Ilario rolled his eyes and followed his cousin into the passage, down a winding set of limestone stairs.
I wouldn't complain if you filled me in.
He grumbled.
Yes, you would.
As much.
Ilario conceded.
I wouldn't complain as much.
The passage was musty with age. The uppermost stairs were 4 stones wide and 4 stones long, but with each step they grew narrower. The middle stones sagged from years of use. Lucanus had almost tripped at the first time he ventured down here. The only source of light was from the torches of green veil fire nailed to the brick walls. Flecks of minerals and crushed glass in the brick flickered and winked at them.
It's like swirling down a wine bottle.
Ilario mumbled, peering over the edge. At the bottom, they found an elf in a scarlet coat guarding a large steel door. She greeted Lucanus with a cordial smile.
Master de la Morte. And...
Her friendly facade faltered as she spotted Ilario.
Master de la Morte, the Lesser.
Ilario offered with a grin.
My cousin.
Lucanus clarified. Appeased, the elf asked,
Where does your business take you tonight?
Up.
She nodded. Lucanus planted his feet firmly on the ground. The elf clapped her hands together, snuffing out the veilfire. The room began to spin, gently at first, then faster. Lucanus bit back a laugh as Ilario held out an arm to steady himself. A few seconds later, the room slowed to a stop, and the veilfire burned once more. The elf opened the door to reveal another spiral staircase.
Oh, good. More stairs.
Ilario deadpanned. Lucanus bowed his head in thanks and slipped a sovereign into the elf's gloved palm.
Happy hunting.
She whispered as they passed, then shut the door behind them.
You've made friends.
Ilario remarked as they began the climb.
You would too, if you ever left Treviso.
I'm here now, aren't I?
He argued.
Seriously, though, what is this place?
A park given by our mysterious benefactor.
Lucanus quickened his pace, hoping to leave the answer at that. Ilario did not take the hint.
Speaking of, I have some questions about him. Her? Them?
I'm sure you do.
Oh, come on.
Ilario urged, matching Lucanus's pace.
When have we ever taken on an anonymous client?
Since someone could put tangible stock in the phrase, silence is golden.
You're not the least bit curious?
Lucanus exhaled through his nose.
If someone wants to pay me top coin to kill a bunch of racist blood mages who have it coming, I'm not going to complain.
Well, when you put it that way...
At the top of the stairs was an empty platform with no windows or doors. A blanket of moss carpeted the floor. Ilario let out a disappointed huff.
That's anticlimactic.
Just wait.
Lucanus promised. He approached the far wall and began tapping the bricks until he found a hollow one. When he pushed against it, the mortar turned languid, whatever, and flexible, allowing the bricks to peel back like skin.
Well?
Lucanus asked. Ilario tilted his head.
Better.
Stars and a warm breeze greeted them on the other side. As they stepped off the platform, the bricks locked back in place. They were several stories above ground, on the third arched tier of Varantium's famed floating aqueduct.
The Wigmaker's estate is a short walk that way.
Lucanus explained, pointing to their left.
One jump, and we'll have access to his roof.
Devious.
The crows strolled across the covered channel, listening to the steady stream of water flowing beneath their feet. Farther below was a chorus of street traffic. Menraphis was Tevinter's capital, but Varantium was her sharp-dressed sister. Amid the sea of brightly coloured tunics, stiletto heels clicked against cobblestones. Necks both fat and thin held up heavy, ornate headpieces with trailing gold embroiled veils. Music from lyres and lutes wrestled for dominance as hawkers touted the latest fashions. Apparently, velveteen was in. Lucanus peeked over the side. No one looked up. One of the world's greatest wonders is mundane to these people.
How do they get it to float?
Ilario asked, tapping his boot tip against the aqueduct.
Magic.
Lucanus scoured the rooftops, searching for one made for a distinctive red clay. They were still a few buildings away.
So, the Wigmaker.
Ilario wiggled his finger ominously.
Tell me about them.
He's weird.
Lucanus replied bluntly. He found the moments before a job crucial for focus, but Ilario was never one for comfortable silence.
See, no one hires normal people.
I gave you a dossier.
Yes, but I want your assessment.
I wrote it. It is my assessment.
For me.
The red clay roof was in sight now.
You'll see soon enough.
With a feline grace, Lucanus leapt off the side of the aqueduct. If they had been paying attention, the line of people wrapped around the Wigmaker's estate would have seen two shadows pass overhead, but their focus was on the stern-faced doorman guarding the entrance. Having your name on the guest list wasn't enough to make it inside one of Ambros's parties. Your outfit had to impress as well. Both crows landed on the roof with a soft thud. Clay tiles weren't ideal for stealth. Their round shape offered little traction for their boots, and if one tile slipped, others would follow like a line of loyal soldiers. But at least Ilario was too busy concentrating to ask questions. The front of the Wigmaker's estate was a collection of domed rotundas, encased in a zigzagging red and beige brick. Guests weren't allowed inside the mansion itself. They were led directly to a grand circular courtyard surrounded by a two-tiered arcade at the back of the house. Moving in tandem, Lucanus and Ilario dropped to their chests and shimmied to the edge overlooking the courtyard. Tevinter parties, especially thrown by the Altus, were known for their excess. Lucanus still remembered the first gala he had attended in Manraphis. Rows and rows of tables had been overladen with jugs of wine and platters of food from all over Thedas. Retching vases were placed in corners for guests to relieve themselves if they overindulged. Prized slaves were brought out to perform. Acrobats tumbled overhead. Musicians played until their fingers blistered. While hunting his mark, Lucanus had opened the wrong door and walked into an orgy. Getting out of that had been interesting. The Wigmaker's periwig show contained all this and more. A catwalk had been constructed at the centre of the courtyard. Running down both sides were grooves for wine to flow from the two dragon-shaped spouting fountains. The guests leaned over from plush chaiselongs to refill their cups in the streams. They poured wine into each other's mouths and over their bodies, running the chic costumes that had been their ticket inside. On the runway, models walked, naked and dead-eyed. Floor-length hair hung over their sagging shoulders and gaunt hip bones. With each stride, their wigs transformed into miraculous, towering creations. On one, the hair twisted and curled to take the shape of a tree with a bird dancing to attract a mate. Another portrayed a nest of vipers, their striped, sinuous bodies writhing against each other. As the wigs came alive, the models' blank faces altered to flash manic smiles, but Lucanus noticed their eyes remaining lifeless. His skull felt raw. The backs of his eyeballs itched like he hadn't blinked in days. Whatever magic Ambrose was using for his creations was tearing at the seams of the veil.
Something's wrong.
Yeah.
Ilario agreed, zeroing in on a group of half-dressed revelers.
We're up here, away from the fun.
Lucanus snapped his fingers in front of his cousin's face.
Focus.
I am.
On the job.
To be fair, you never told me the plan.
Lucanus shrugged.
Find Ambrose, slit his throat.
Sounds complicated.
It will be. The Vera's thin here. Thinner than I expected.
He rubbed the stubble on his chin.
One wrong spell and this place will be swarming with demons.
Then let's kill the bastard and scram. I want to see what this city has to offer.
Our ship sails at dawn.
Ilario waved a dismissive hand.
Plenty of time for some good old-fashioned debauch.
I see him.
Lucanus interrupted. In the arcade above the catwalk, a man flanked by guards watched the emaciated models from the shadows. Ambrose Forfex was of average height and build, with hawkish gold eyes and a jaw that could break teeth. His scalp and cheeks were both clean-shaven, leaving his face bare except for two black sculpted brows.
They're never what you envision, are they?
Ilario noted.
What did you expect?
Hair, for one. Maybe a funny little dog.
That got a chuckle out of Lucanus, if only briefly. The way the Wigmaker stared at his creations was unnerving. Ilario was right. Imark's physical appearance was unpredictable, but the gleam in their eyes, the appetite to do something unspeakable, that was always the same. A woman rushed toward Ambrose's retinue. She wore an emerald gown with a high-waisted, low-tiered skirt and fitted tully bodice studded with champagne-coloured crystals. Metallic body paint shimmered on her exposed arms and legs. Something about the woman's movements and stature were familiar, but Lucanus couldn't place her.
Well, hello.
Ilario purred.
Who is this lovely figure?
After whispering something in Ambrose's ear that made him scowl, the woman motioned the guards to take the Wigmaker to the main house. Suddenly, Lucanus knew exactly who she was.
Guard Captain Camille Spina.
Ilario whistled softly.
This job is looking better all the time.
Once Ambrose was safely inside, Camille slipped a key ring from the silk brocade layers of her skirt and secured the door. Lucanus frowned.
I need those keys.
Your wish is my command, cousin.
Ilario said, and flipped forward in one fluid motion. Following closely from the roof, Lucanus watched Ilario slink through the crowd like a fox in the henhouse. Despite his earlier jab, Lucanus had to admit, if only to himself, that his cousin looked at home among the local gentry. Ilario winked at strangers as if they'd known each other for years, and the Vints were either too drunk or thought him too attractive to question his familiarity. Meanwhile, Camille made a valiant attempt to appear natural while sweeping the perimeter, but the instinctive nods to her fellow guards gave her away. Ilario waited until she broke for refreshments to make his move. Camille had just taken a sip of watered-down Mulsum when a handsome stranger grabbed her glass and downed the rest.
Excuse me?
She exclaimed. The party drowned out her words, but Lucanus could still read her lips.
That's my drink.
Ilario simply smiled.
Guess I'll have to buy you another.
Lucanus groaned, not only at the line, but that it worked. Even from his position, he could see Camille was hooked. He shouldn't be surprised. This was old hat for Ilario, but it was always amazing to see what one man's smile could accomplish. Camille blushed and leaned towards Ilario. Seizing on the opening, he reached around to wave down a passing waiter and lifted the keyring hidden in her dress. When the waiter presented the couple with a tray of drinks, Ilario discreetly swapped the keys for 2 glasses of Mulsum. The waiter sped away, both he and Camille none the wiser. Keeping low, Lucanus jumped to his feet and followed the tray. He needed to swipe the keys before the waiter reached the kitchen, which, judging from the speed of his steps, the man was keen to do. Could have just held on to them, could you, cousin? Lucanus thought, as he scurried across the slick roof tiles. The balls of his feet arched inward, searching for traction. Keep moving, he told himself. Right now, momentum was his only friend. The waiter continued to hasten through the crowd. Lucanus' stomach tensed as disembodied hands stretched through the throng to snatch the remaining glasses. Luckily, no one seemed to notice the tray's stowaway. Up ahead, Lucanus spied the servants' entrance. If he could reach it, there was just enough space to wedge his body into the covered niche above the door. Not easily, of course, but nothing ever was. He increased his speed to a run, trusting the music and general noise from the party to mask his footfalls. His eyes darted left and right. No one had spotted him yet, but if he missed this jump, he'd have everyone's attention. Don't think about it. Lucanus took a deep breath and flung himself off the roof. Suspended in air, time seemed to slow. The only sound that registered was the gust of wind rushing past his face. The opposite wall moved towards Lucanus with the weight of a warship on the horizon. Then his gloved fingers caught the ledge as he felt everything at once. A burning pressure shot through the marrow of his bones, and the surrounding muscle screamed as he twisted his torso to keep from slamming into the wall. Casting his momentum backward, then forward again, he swung up into a plank position across the columns, framing the servants' entrance. 2 minutes later, the waiter passed below, holding the tray and key ring aloft, ripe for the plucking. Lucanus relieved the man of his burden, then climbed back up to the roof and dashed towards the door Amber Rose had disappeared through. Now, the hard part. Lucanus greeted the guard on the other side of the door with a dagger to the throat. He covered his mouth to muffle the gurgling noise, then dragged the body behind one of the curtains covering the windows. Lucanus thought about securing the entrance. Leaving it unlocked could raise suspicion, but chose not to in case Ilario decided to work tonight. He could already hear his cousin's honeyed excuses. But seducing a beautiful woman is work. He snorted and pushed farther inside. The cold opulence of the place reminded Lucanus of a chantry, rather than a home. Atlases bearing the visages of past archons held up vaulted ceilings glittering with mosaic depictions of Tevinter's golden age. The cost of such a commission must have been astronomical, both in coin and lives. How many slaves had gone blind, gilding each individual tile? How many backs had been broken from hauling and placing stone after stone? There was patriotism and there was obsession. Neither was worth it. The only part of the mansion's interior design Lucanus did appreciate was the abundance of pointed lines and edges, which made scaling walls a cinch. Hopping from one stone archon to the next, he moved down the curved hall. He hadn't seen where Ambrose had gone, but he had a fast rule when hunting Venatori: follow the headaches. Soon enough, at the end of the hall, he spotted 8 guards, Amberose's retinue. One duo watched the adjoining corridor, while another patrolled the centre. 2 were posted at the windows, and the last pair flanked an imposing, studded door. Lucanus gritted his teeth at the scraping inside his skull. Lucanus gritted his teeth as the scraping inside his skull intensified. Every instinct in his body told him that Amber Rose was behind that door. But first, he had to deal with the guards. The 2 on patrol passed underneath. Both men were solidly built, with scars peppering from their uniform collars. Each carried a sword and a dagger. Reaching into his jacket pocket, Lucanus retrieved a long spool of wire attached to 2 wooden grips. He backtracked across the Archon heads and waited for the guards to round the corner. Measuring out a decent length of wire, Lucanus spun the garrote, then whipped it down around the first guard's neck. 1 for silence. The man lurched into the air as Lucanus used his weight as leverage to glide down onto the second guard's shoulders. 2 for surprise. Tucking his ankle underneath his left knee, Lucanus held one man in a stranglehold, while the other dangled overhead, his feet kicking wildly. The second guard's fists beat against Lucanus's shins. He elbowed him in response, jerking the suspended guard up and down until his legs went ragdoll slack. The second guard continued to fight, but his strength was fading. Lucanus tightened his grip and twisted until he heard the guard's neck crack. "Paulus, everything all right?" Wrapping the end of the garrote around the second guard's broken neck, Lucanus somersaulted backward. The dead weight of the first man pulled the second one up until they both hung around the limestone Archon's nape, like a loose cravat. "Better check it out," another guard said. Their exchange was followed by the sound of tentative footsteps. Lucanus sunk back into the shadows and ascended the column once more. Across his chest, a leather strap held 4 throwing knives. He grabbed 2 in anticipation. The steps grew louder. 8 feet, 4 guards. That left the 2 at the door. "Paulus, we told you, no pranks tonight. Not with the crows circling." Even without uniforms, the guards could have been related. They all possessed the same hard brow and flat, broken nose that hadn't been set correctly. Maybe they went for a piss. They know better to leave their post. "Spread out." Lucanus mouthed the words as the guards gave the order. They created a wedge formation, with 1 in the lead and 3 taking up the rear. Aiming carefully, Lucanus let loose 1 of the throwing knives. 3 for good measure. It's sorry, I just see people say Kermit the Frog was in the Dragon Age universe. It sliced through its target's spine with clear precision. The guard slumped into his partner's shoulder. He turned. "What the?" A squishy thud interrupted him. I glanced down to find a knife in his heart and joined the other guard on the floor. 4's exercise. The formation broke. "He's here! The crow's here!" Another pair from Amberosa's retinue rushed around the corner. Flicking his wrists, Lucanus produced a stiletto dagger from each sleeve and dropped down on the reinforcements. The violence of the fall drove the pointed blades into their skulls with ease. 5 for a slaughter, 6 for a thrill. The remaining guards stood back to back, staring at him as if he were death itself. Lucanus unsheathed his sword. After a few shaky breaths, they yelled and charged toward him. He parried the first guard's blow, then slid behind the second and severed his hamstring. 7 means more sovereigns. Twirling back into a standing position, he decapitated the kneeling man with 1 powerful swing. "Shit!" the last guard stammered, his boot inching backward. "Shit!" he ran. Lucanus went for his throwing knife when a steel blade whirled past his head to land in the guard's back, dropping him like a stone.
8 marks the final kill.
Ilario said, coming to stand next to him. He dusted off his palms.
Do you still recite that old nursery rhyme? The one Cat memorized during training?
Lucanus moved to retrieve his throwing knives.
What can I say? It's catchy.
That's a word.
Ilario glanced at the swaying guards overhead.
You... If the Vince ever up, you're screwed.
They'd have to stop looking down their noses.
He narrowed his eyes.
Your tunic's rumpled.
Ilario flashed a sheepish grin.
You weren't the only one tussling with guards.
Tussling, huh?
Lucanus shook his head.
That's a word for it.
I'm happy to kiss and tell, but shouldn't we do something about this?
Ilario wrinkled his nose and nodded toward the sticky fluid seeping out from underneath the slain guards. Lucanus wiped his blade clean and advanced towards the studded door.
Leave it.
Open?
You bring him up?
Ilario glowed at him.
No, but you've half an armory stored in that coat. I thought maybe...
Both men froze. At the end of the hall, an elven woman gaped. She was a collection of bones covered in dry, flaky skin and a shaved head. The chains around her wrists and ankles marked her as one of the Wigmaker's slaves. The linens she had been carrying tumbled to the ground in a heap. Ilario cursed.
Bad timing, Mia Cara.
The woman trembled. She was so thin. The grooves in her joints were clearly visible.
Please.
She begged. Lucanus arched a brow. Her voice was young. He approached with leisurely steps.
Please.
She repeated, her tone growing panicked.
I didn't. I won't.
You probably can't hear.
Oh.
Shh.
Lucanus murmured.
How old are you?
She blinked, thinking for a moment, then admitted.
I don't know.
What about your name?
Effie.
The paws on Effie's scalp were an angry red, as if her hair had been torn from the root.
Did he do that?
Lucanus asked, pointing. She instinctively reached up to touch the irritated skin.
I had split ends. Master doesn't like split ends.
Lucanus made a fist to quell the rage growing within him. He leaned over to pick up the fallen linens.
Go back the way you came.
She's in our faces.
Ilario hissed. Lucanus stared into Effie's wide, wondering eyes. Despite her fears, she didn't look away.
No, she hasn't.
He handed her the linens.
Have you?
She shook her head. Lucanus nodded for her to leave. Effie took a couple of steps backward, then bit her lip.
You're the crow, aren't you? The one sent to kill my master?
I am.
Lucanus replied, his tone matter of fact. Ilario swore under his breath.
Have you done it yet?
Effie asked, growing tense.
No.
Will you?
Yes.
She closed her eyes and clasped the linens to her chest.
Good.
You want him dead?
Ilario asked, puzzled.
Next master.
Effie pointed toward the studded door, her expression cold.
You'll see.
Lucanus flipped through the keys until he found one large enough to match the door's iron lock.
Never known you to have a heart.
Ilario muttered. Lucanus's right cheek muscle twitched.
You won't talk.
Kiva, we're not here.
We're not heroes anywhere, cousin.
Ilario rolled his eyes.
You know what I mean. The Venatori already have your name. They your face.
I'll grow a beard.
Lucanus smirked.
They'll never see me coming.
Ilario's frustration deflated. He grinned reluctantly.
That cavalier attitude's going to get you killed.
Lucanus turned the key until the bolt unlatched.
It served me well so far.
Securing the grip on his sword, he eased the door open and peeked inside. There was nothing but darkness and stale air. Lucanus gestured for Ilario to follow as he slipped through the entryway. They stood for a moment, quiet and still, allowing their eyes to adjust. 10 paces ahead, a stairwell materialized in the shadows. Their descent was slow going. Wrought iron made for easy creaks and groans. Each step was a test of patience and balance. Lucanus went first, showing Ilario where to place his feet. Despite their descent underground, the temperature was rising. At the bottom, an arched entryway emitted a red glow that bled onto knobby cobblestones. The light should have been refreshing in the dark, but Lucanus had visited enough places to know he wasn't going to like this room. And he didn't. Row after row, men and women were chained to the ceiling in a tidy formation, their heads lulled forward between straining shoulders. Cascades of hair tumbled past amputated knees to settle in pools of silver, black, gold, and copper. A shiny, terrible rainbow of hair. Lucanus approached the first row. Up close, he noticed their skin had turned an ashy grey and was spotted with crystallized sores. Gently, he pushed the hair from one of their faces. The man's mouth was sewn shut, his eyes milky. He twisted toward Lucanus. All at once, the room became aware strangers were present. One by one, they moaned a horrifying chorus of despair. Lucanus stumbled back, his mouth dry. Something inside snapped. Death's too good for this bastard. Ilario touched his arm. Only then did Lucanus realize how quickly he was breathing. He closed his eyes. Remember your training, he told himself, and suddenly he could hear the tapping of his grandmother's cane, the hard elegance of her voice. There is no place for emotion in killing. It's sloppy. Feel it down. Make it useful. Make it useful, he repeated to himself, with slow, controlled breaths. Lucanus flushed the rage pumping through his veins until he could think clearly. Amber-Rose would die. That was for certain. But he couldn't walk away from these people. He returned to the man's side and reached for the irons around his wrists.
What are you doing?
Ilario whispered.
Breaking their shackles.
Ilario stared.
That's not the job.
Fuck the job.
From the back of the chamber, a humming joined the melodious wails. Lucanus peered into the gloom, but the source was too far to see. He locked eyes with Ilario and jerked his thumb toward the sound. Weaving among the pendulous bodies, they crept closer. The moans grew louder. Lucanus did his best to avoid, I assume. Lucanus did his best to avoid brushing. Yeah, Lucanus did his best to avoid brushing against the clammy limbs, but the prisoners were packed in tight. Finally, through the forest of undulating torsos, he could discern a figure hunching over in the dark.
You're lively tonight, my lovelies,
Amber-Rose said, taking a pair of shears in hand. On his desk, a collection of gleaming combs, hackles, and needles were meticulously organized in glass containers.
You wish to join the party?
Rising on his tiptoes, he unchained one of the prisoners to sit him in a chair next to the workstation.
All in good time,
The Wigmaker promised. The prisoner stared ahead, his elongated arms limp and atrophied. Both shoulders jutted forward at a cruel angle, stretching the bruised skin. Lucanus knew from experience they were dislocated. After donning a set of leather gloves, the Wigmaker opened one of the desk's drawers. The chamber's soft glow became a brilliant vermilion. Lucanus craned his neck to see Amber-Rose retrieve pebble-sized chunks of red lyrium. Shit. Amber-Rose resumed his mellow tune. Using a basalt mortar and pestle, he ground the lyrium into a powder. Once he was satisfied with the consistency, he poured the contents into a goblet of wine. Pivoting back toward the prisoner, Amber-Rose snipped the knot at the corner of his mouth and unlaced the thread binding his lips. His jaw fell open with a raspy wheeze.
Drink up, my dear,
The Wigmaker whispered, tipping the prisoner's head back. A grin spread across his face as he watched the man's throat work down the liquid. Lucanus thought he'd forgotten what fear felt like, but its cold embrace was easily recognizable. He remembered the models with their dead eyes, how the wigs seemed to be alive with magic. Red lyrium would explain why the veil was so thin. And yet, he glanced around at the bodies filled with anguish and suffering. This place should be a hotbed for demons. How was Amber-Rose keeping them at bay? Think, damn it! Lucanus racked his mind. There were rumours of elven artifacts that strengthened the veil and prevented demons from breaking through. Perhaps Amber-Rose had acquired one? He surveyed the room, searching for something, anything, that might provide a barrier against the spirit world. But there was nothing except for hair, bodies, and the Wigmaker's workstation. Then Ilario's words came to mind. If the Vince ever learn to look up, you're screwed. His gaze lifted. In the center of the chamber, a small cage hung from the ceiling. Inside was a globe, crackling with green energy. Warm satisfaction spread through him. Gotcha. Meanwhile, Amber-Rose had redressed the prisoner's mouth and was fastening his shackles.
I'm afraid the rest of you will have to wait. I don't care what Camille says. I'm not missing the show's finale.
He brought a lock of hair to his nose and inhaled deeply.
I've worked too hard.
To his right, Lucanus sensed Ilario readying his dagger. He gently grabbed his cousin's wrist and shook his head. Ilario gawked at him, his jaw clenched. The Wigmaker began the walk back toward the stairs. A groaning lament followed as he passed. When he was close enough to touch, Ilario tensed, as if to lunge forward. Lucanus tightened his hold, his thumb finding the pressure point at the base of his wrist. The dagger fell from Ilario's grasp. Lucanus swiped it up before it clanged to the ground. "What are you doing?" Ilario mouthed. Again, Lucanus motioned him to stand down. Once they heard Amber Rose climb the stairs and close the door, Ilario wrenched his arm free.
Have you lost your mind? We had him.
He doesn't deserve a quick death.
Did you forget the mess left upstairs? What do you think will happen when Ambrose finds the bodyguard slaughtered?
Hopefully, he panics.
Oh, that's the next
Oh,
one,
sorry. Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully, he panics. I want him scared.
Flee,
Ilario asserted.
and this contract will be forfeit. Life will be forfeit.
Ambrose would never leave his creations.
Lucanus appraised the brutality that surrounded them.
Don't worry, cousin. He'll die, but in the right way.
Ilario threw his hands up.
Death is death. There's still now. Magic isn't my forte, but even I know red lyrium is bad news. It infects people's minds. Lucanus!
Ilario pressed.
We can't help these people.
Lucanus looked up at the caged globe.
No, but we can give them vengeance.
After placing Ilario's dagger between his teeth, Lucanus jumped high to seize the bottom rungs of the cage. The chain swiveled from the added weight, but held strong. He pulled himself up. There was just enough space between the bar to reach inside.
What are you doing?
Ilario called out. Lucanus took the dagger from his mouth and positioned it over the artifact.
You'll see.
Ilario groaned.
I really wish people would stop saying that.
Breathing deep, Lucanus plunged the dagger into the globe. The strength of the stone ricocheted up through the joints of his arm. He watched the green light sputter and fizzle. There was a moment of silence, then madness.
Seriously, what did you do?
Ilario yelled as they raced up the stairs, a cacophony of twisted bones and snapping shackles at their heels.
That globe was keeping the veil intact.
Lucanus explained, taking 2 steps at a time.
So
You said yourself, vengeance was the best I could offer.
stabbed it? No.
Ilario retorted, his breath heavy from exertion.
My exact words were, "We can't help these people." I said nothing of vengeance. You're the vengeance.
They neared the top of the stairs. Lucanus used the railing to propel himself forward.
Trust me. To Ambrose, turning his creations against him is a fate worse than death.
I'm sorry. Did the contract ask for a fate worse than death? Usually it's just death.
Ilario.
But the other crow wasn't finished.
I thought the plan was to have a few laughs, slit some throats, not release a demon swarm.
Plans change.
Lucanus replied. His gloved palm covered the door handle.
Well, for the record, I prefer the other.
Noted.
He went to yank the door open, then hesitated.
Do you hear that?
Ilario's legs bounced impatiently.
The demons? Yes, I hear.
Lucanus shook his head.
There's no alarm. Ambrose should have found the bodies by now.
Ilario tilted his head, then shrugged.
Don't question the Maker's miracles, cousin.
Lucanus moved his ear closer to the door's studded surface. Swirling water, soap suds bubbled and popped. A loud slap echoed as drenched fabric hit marble. A mop? He opened the door. The hall was empty. Lucanus tossed Ilario his dagger, then readied his own. Cautiously, they ventured forth. With tense muscles, they rounded the corner. The guards' corpses were gone. In their place, they found Effie, cleaning the floor. When she saw Lucanus, her knuckles turned white.
You said you'd kill him.
Lucanus motioned Ilario to lower his weapon.
It's all right.
It's not.
Her voice quivered.
Master just passed this way. If he finds out I helped you, he'll...
He won't.
Lucanus promised.
Where are the bodies?
Ilario asked. Effie shrank into herself.
I moved them.
Not by yourself, you didn't.
He turned to Lucanus, a smug sneer on his face.
I told you she...
Only to the other slaves, please.
She pleaded to Lucanus.
I didn't tell them what you looked like. Only that you're here. They wanted to help.
She squared her slight shoulders.
You promised to kill him.
And you promised to keep your mouth shut.
Ilario chiddered. Back down the hall, something wet slammed against the studded door. Effie's bravado crumbled.
What was that?
Take her.
Lucanus told Ilario.
Find the others.
Either what?
His eyes darted to the elf.
Slaves? Absolutely not.
Behind them, a second fleshy thud echoed, then a third, and a fourth. Lucanus continued as if Ilario had agreed.
There's a statue with a passage, like the one we used before. It's not far. You should be able to escape in the chaos.
Ilario blanched.
Did you not hear me? I said...
Altima will help you. She's the elf we met earlier.
don't give a damn what her name is. Not.
Once Ambrose is dealt with, I'll meet you at the docks.
Lucanus.
Ilario shouted.
We are not revolutionaries.
Lucanus inhaled, his nostrils flaring. Ilario was right. The Antivan Crows were assassins, not freedom fighters. Back home, people liked to romanticize, but Lucanus knew what he was. Still, his fingers twitched.
They are not responsible for our master's mistakes.
He locked eyes with his cousin. Ilario tried to remain resolute, but it was like twitching hot steel. Sighing, he cursed and turned to Effie.
Come on.
Ilario snapped. She glanced towards Lucanus. He gave her a reassuring nod.
My cousin may be a snub, but he's true to his word.
Are you?
She asked, referring to the promise about Ambrose.
The Wigmaker will die tonight.
Lucanus affirmed.
But you have to go. It's about to become very dangerous.
As if to prove his point, someone outside screamed. The scene in the courtyard had changed dramatically. But if Lucanus was being honest, he preferred chaos to debauchery. Yeah, it's debauchery, right? Yeah. It gave him satisfaction to watch drunken Vince trip over themselves, desperate to find an exit. Wine and blue blood spilled in equal measure as guests careened through an obstacle course of upturned chaiselongs and broken glass. The demons had possessed the models first, the red lyrium imbued wigs an enticing lure. Their bony bodies stretched into towering masses of contorted flesh. Ooh. The transformation affected the wigs too, giving the locks a serrated edge. Strands stuck out at odd angles, whipping wildly, cutting anyone who drew too close. For mages, fear was an open invitation to demonic possession, and the alcohol the guests had consumed had dulled their defences. One after another, the drunkest and most frightened among them fell prey to malicious spirits watching, waiting on the other side of the veil. Lucanus felt no sympathy. They were all of them Venatori supporters who either knew what Ambrose was doing or chose to turn a blind eye to indulge their own vanity. Ignorance is bliss, not innocence. He spotted Ambrose Forfex at the centre of the carnage, surrounded by a gleaming pile of hair. The Wigmaker was shouting at Camille to cut his wigs off the abominations. Her painted arms were getting sliced to ribbons for her efforts. Growing impatient, Ambrose snarled.
Get out of the way.
He shoved the guard captain. Her ankle, unaccustomed to heels, twisted and snapped. Camille fell forward toward one of the abominations. An errant lock of hair caught her throat. The gash was thin but deep. With frantic fingers, she tried to apply pressure. She looked to Ambrose and extended a pleading hand. The mage rolled his eyes.
Useless.
Ambrose grabbed her wrist and pulled the pressure off her neck, allowing the blood to flow freely.
This, however...
The guard captain collapsed at his feet, employing Camille's blood as a catalyst. The Wigmaker impaled the abomination with spikes of crimson energy. The monstrous corpse exploded when it hit the ground, but Ambrose had enough foresight to create a barrier, shielding himself from the gore. The Wigmaker leaned over to lift a stringy tangle of hair from the grisly pile. Lucanus dropped onto the runway, his sword arm limber with anticipation. He stalked towards Ambrose.
Nothing a little soap can't fix,
he offered. Ambrose threw down the mated mess.
Lucanus Delamorte, I presume.
See,
Lucanus answered, knowing even a single syllable of a foreign language would disgust the Wigmaker. It had the desired effect. Ambrose recoiled as if he'd stepped in urine.
Is this your handiwork?
see.
The mage's jaw pulsed.
You think you can come into my Imperium and act as judge and executioner?
Lucanus opened his mouth to respond, but Ambrose anticipated his answer.
Don't say see.
That earned a genuine smile from Lucanus.
Normally, there's no judgment, only a contract. But for you, Ambrose, I've made an exception.
The Wigmaker raised a brow.
Oh? What makes me so special?
You upset my delicate sensibilities.
It was Ambrose's turn to laugh.
I thought a crow could stomach anything. The right price.
Lucanus levelled the Wigmaker with a pointed look.
Not red lyrium.
Morality is not static. Right and wrong are a matter of perspective.
Ambrose's words were practised and tired, as if he had given the same reasoning 100 times. Lucanus continued his advance, refusing to engage in the Wigmaker's rhetoric. Nothing irritated him more than self-righteous excuses. If you're going to do something terrible, just own it. The abominations from the workshop had joined the party. One of them seized a fleeing guard. He screamed as if it wrapped him in a cocoon of razor-sharp hair. Blood oozed from the coiled strands. Ambrose shot a quick glance at Camille's corpse. The gesture lasted only a split second, but it was enough to prompt Lucanus to increase his pace. Close the distance. Don't let him get a spell off. Chanting under his breath, the Wigmaker began summoning a bloody mist from the guard captain's remains. The lifeless skin paled and shriveled. Lucanus broke into a run. The mist sharpened into 1,000 tiny needles. Ambrose raised his arm. Not going to make it, Lucanus thought, snatching a knife from his coat. The needles vibrated eagerly, just as the Wigmaker launched them forward. Lucanus threw his knife, taking off 4 of Ambrose's fingers. Without a mage to guide them, the needles transformed back into globules of blood, and rained down on the catwalk. Ambrose, clutching his ruined hand, crumbled to his knees.
You should be more careful,
Lucanus said.
Fingers are a Wigmaker's tools, are they not?
Hopelessness... Sorry, apparently I said acoustic as opposed to accosted. Hopelessness flooded the mage's eyes.
One day someone will turn your work against you. Only then will you have some semblance of the emptiness you've made me feel.
With his good hand, he gathered what was left of the wig, hugging the locks to his chest. Lucanus experienced a twinge of disappointment, kindling for rage. He expected more fight from a high-ranking Venatori. He thought of the Wigmaker's workshop, of the prisoners, their bellies full of poison, hanging like butchered pigs in stale, suffocating darkness.
Get up, Ambrose.
He growled.
You don't get to do that. You don't get to quit.
The word quit sparked some life in the Wigmaker's blank expression.
So the crow thinks he can best the dragon?
The crow
Lucanus mocked.
knows it.
A cackle, distorted and unhinged, erupted from Ambrose's lips. The hair in his fist glowed, and Lucanus swore he heard the strands whisper.
I'll make you eat those words.
Ambrose promised, his voice no longer his own. Lucanus watched, repulsed, as the Wigmaker began shoving locks of hair into his mouth. The sharp edges shredded his tongue and gums, but he continued stuffing, chewing and eating until the bottom half of his face was ground meat. That's one way to make a point, Lucanus thought, coming to a stop. Gnarled cords of muscle ripped the seams of the Wigmaker's clothing. Cartilage tore. Vertebrae popped. Ambrose held his pulsing, distended scalp. Strands of hair cut through the skin, lashing out like a sea monster. Lucanus had seen many abominations, but never one like this. It was almost acrinid, in shape with 8 segments of spiky hair forming the legs and Ambrose's twisted, mutated body making up the abdomen.
Thought you said dragon, not spider.
Lucanus taunted, hoping to distract the beast while he searched for a route to higher ground. In response, the creature rose to its full height, then slashed at the crow with its serrated limbs. Lucanus dove sideways, mere seconds before the monster's front legs pierced the runaway. This is why you don't talk during a fight. Lucanus scolded himself, zigging and zagging to avoid the spiked appendages. He sped towards the arched columns. He ducked under another abomination's swiping claws and inhaled a chestful of air before scrambling up the first column, then the second. His fingers had just grazed the final ledge when a searing pain shot through his right shoulder. Lucanus tried to pull away, but he could feel the hair wrap around his clavicle, yanking him back from the inside. He lost his grip. The abomination hurled Lucanus skyward. More legs perforated his hip, bicep and thigh, steeling himself against the pain. Lucanus flipped backward and severed the hairy limbs. He heard an inhuman shriek, and then he was falling. Lucanus hit the roof with a smack, powerful enough to fracture the clay tiles and 2 of his ribs. Make that 3, he noted, rolling onto his back. Below, the abomination let out a high-pitched wail. Lucanus gritted his teeth and forced himself to peer over the side. With 4 of its legs now too short to support its body, the creature struggled to stand, sensing its weakness and spurred on by the demons of vengeance within. The other abominations began to surround it. That's it. Lucanus smiled encouragingly. Good little demons. Turning his sword in his own palm, he cut across the roof. The smaller abominations pushed the larger beast into a corner. The creature reared back to swipe at the encroaching swarm, exposing Ambrose's distorted frame. One of the slashing legs constricted around an attacking abomination. Ambrose's mouth opened wide, unhooking its maimed jaw to swallow the abomination whole. The legs began to grow back before Lucanus's eyes.
No, you don't!
He shouted. Raising his sword overhead, Lucanus leapt over the roof. He could hear the clamouring horde below, but he kept his focus on the creature's underbelly. Too late, it tried to protect itself. Hundreds of wiry strands whipped through the air, catching only the wind. Lucanus plunged his sword into Ambrose's mangled sternum. He dragged the blade down in one long, clean cut until he ran out of flesh. For a moment, the abomination wobbled. The fissure in its core festered with inky spume. Then, slowly, the viscous halves split, folding outward. A putrid vapour infected the atmosphere. The locks of hair composing the creature's legs disjoined and frizzled with static. Panting heavily, Lucanus regarded the creature's collapse without joy or anger. A vermilion fire engulfed the carcass, leaving nothing but a brittle husk. The other abomination stirred.
You have your vengeance,
Lucanus rasped. But his words did not reach them. They stared, snarling and ready. He squeezed the grip of his sword, preparing for another fight. Then the pressure behind his skull eased. Without the Wigmaker, the demons had no anchor in the waking world. Gradually, the abominations disintegrated into ash. With the source of their anger gone, the spirits of vengeance returned to the Fade, allowing the dead to rest. Only then did Lucanus exhale and let the relief wash over him.
Contract complete.
Lucanus reached the docks just before dawn. Knowing Ilario as he did, he passed their ship's allotted berth to check the nearby taverns. After a quick glance up and down the harbour, Lucanus settled on the Nug Queen, purely because it was the cleanest establishment of the lot. When he entered, limping and bloody, the barkeep glowed.
Walk out the way you came.
The dwarf instructed. He had a tawny moustache that was twirling and waved at both and waxed at both ends.
I'm looking for my cousin.
Lucanus explained.
Don't care.
The dwarf replied.
Don't care.
The dwarf replied.
I know trouble when I see it, even when it's not bleeding on my floorboards.
Lucanus scanned the room for Ilario. The barkeep's attitude aside, the tavern was inviting, with its pristine white walls and peacock blue cushions. A brass nug wearing a little crown reigned over the bar's sparse patrons. Most had turned in for the night, but a few sleepy, sullen customers remained, staring into their pints for answers or comfort. Not seeing his cousin among them, Lucanus prepared to leave. Then he heard Ilario's silvery voice flattering one of the waiters.
Oi!
The dwarf called out as Lucanus staggered towards the row of booths lining the left side of the tavern.
Exits that way.
His bellowing drew Ilario's attention away from the handsome servant. Upon seeing Lucanus, he jumped to his feet.
Andrastes, holy cabbage. You shit.
Get that man to stop yelling at me.
Lucanus said. He plopped down in the booth, taking a moment to rest his eyes, while Ilario soothed the irate proprietor.
Drink?
His cousin offered, returning with 2 glasses and a bottle of wine.
Spence.
Lucanus accepted with a faint nod.
Spoils the vintage.
Ilario mused while pouring.
But I think it takes the sweeter.
Effie and the others. Did you get them to...
Yes.
Ilario snapped.
My good the year.
The 2 paused to sip their wine. Lucanus rolled the liquid over his tongue. Bribery had not spoilt this bottle, at least.
Camille didn't make it.
He said finally.
Can you guys hear me?
Oh, we can now.
Oh,
Did I drop? Okay.
it dropped out.
Sorry.
Where you say who?
The guard captain.
Oh goodness, I'm having some lag
That's all
issues.
good. It's all good.
Oh, new bulldog. Now we
You guys
can
hear me again?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Can you hear me now? Oh,
Yeah.
thank God. Okay. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Don't worry
Where?
about it. Ilaria.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
Don't worry about it.
Ah.
Ilaria said, nodding in recognition.
Does free. I didn't intend to keep.
You have to ask.
Fair enough. That
He gestured toward the dark stains on Lucanus's coat.
Mostly.
His cousin's brows drew together.
do you know her? You can't.
I'm fine.
Lucanus stated.
Yes.
Ilaria said.
Oh.
Ilaria said, topping off his glass.
Oh no. You will try leaving the Discord call and then coming back again. See if that does anything.
I don't think she can hear us.
Oh
since
no.
We are like she said that she has some lagging issues, so it's possible we are also lagging for her.
We'll just pretend that Lucanus is just staring very intently at Ilaria.
Just having a stare off.
I'm just bleeding out on the floor, not.
Yeah. Just savoring
the game.
It's just a bit. They're just savoring the wine.
Adds to the intensity.
Yeah, savoring the wine.
I'm so sorry about that.
Don't worry about it. It's all good.
Where were we?
Ilario said, topping off his wine.
So just pretend that wine you're drinking all over the table.
What do you want me to say?
Ilario's gaze grew hard.
Are you going to keep doing this?
Doing what?
The wine turned in Lucanus's mouth.
Ilario, stop.
What? I can't.
Newble, question. Are you like on like a Wi-Fi, or are you on your phone on the Wi-Fi, or are you like on your PC?
Oh. No. Computer with the
I think you need to write that because I cannot hear any of it.
No.
This is just like a tiny ad break happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everybody go get some more tea if you don't have it.
Sorry.
Don't worry about it. It's all good.
I don't know if you could just do a soft, like, reset of, like, your router or something. I don't know if that'll work, but...
I think if she is Cozy Gremlin,
I would
Does it have
type
disconnected
just
everything?
so she can see.
hear me?
her.
Yeah.
hello?
Hello? Yeah, Tanya can hear.
No,
Hello?
no. She's talking.
Nooble, hello?
Nooble?
Yeah.
Hi. I just went over to my phone.
Hey!
You know what?
So
We'll
much
deal with it,
better.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. We'll do that.
Phone
Okay,
is
so
way
where
better.
am I?
That's a
Okay.
big
Okay.
difference, yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's so much better. We got it, guys.
Okay. Where did we leave off?
Perhaps you should
so-
back up a little bit because we can hear you just fine now.
Yeah. Do we want to
Should we
go to where we started before?
Yeah. Where were we before?
With me saying like I'm fine,
Yes.
Lucana stated, and then go
Yeah.
from there.
Let's do that.
Okay. All right. I'm fine.
The kind of stated.
All right.
Ilario said, topping off his glass.
We'll just pretend that's wine. You're dripping all over the table.
What do you want me to say?
Ilario's gaze grew hard.
How long are you going to keep doing this?
Doing what?
Katarina's bidding.
The wine turned in Lucanus's mouth.
Ilario, stop.
If I was in charge, you wouldn't have to do this anymore.
He cajoled.
You could quit.
Lucanus stared at his cousin.
I don't want to quit.
Ilario sat back. The distance between them suddenly felt much wider than a table.
Even if it kills you?
Ilario whispered.
Death is my calling,
Lucanus stated, matter of fact.
just as yours is to become first Talon.
He smiled, hoping to ease the tension, but Ilario's posture remained taut.
And if Katarina disagrees, if she thinks you're the better man for the job,
I don't want it, Ilario.
Lucanus insisted.
but you wouldn't refuse.
It's impossible to refuse Katarina.
Lucanus admitted reluctantly.
Only prolong her until she sees reason.
He knew it wasn't going to answer. He knew it wasn't the answer Ilario wanted, but it was the truth. And in their line of work, honesty was hard to come by. Ilario exhaled and lifted his wine glass in salute.
To reason, then.
No reason.
Lucanus echoed. The two crows linked the rims of their glasses together, then prepared for the long journey ahead. Okay, this is where it gets tricky, because I have to do sessions now. Give me a second. Right. Folks, this hopefully will work like a treat. We'll find out. So Sasha has recorded her lines in, basically. So, Magister Zara Renata stood nude before a glided full-length mirror. Every morning she assessed her body, starting with the toes, then working her way up to her sleeve. 3 slaves, each bearing a smaller looking glass, stood on either side and at her back, so that there were no blind spots. They stared, unblinking, and her lustrous bronze skin, looking at anything other than their mistress, risked a punishment most severe. Let's get up. There was a knock at the door. Normally, Zara would not tolerate an interruption during her morning regimen, but she had been looking forward to this particular visit.
Enter.
She instructed, glancing over her shoulder to admire the curve of her lower back. Crispin Cavlo and Felicia Aramond, mistress. A perfumed beauty announced. No one, that's probably not how a perfumed beauty sounds, but no one in Zara's household looked a day over 35. The two guests undoubtedly noticed their host's nakedness, but kept their expression neutral.
I take it Ambrose didn't listen.
Zara began without ceremony.
We advised him to cancel the show.
Crispin replied.
He refused.
Felicia added.
Artists.
Zara bemoaned.
Always prioritizing their work over what really matters.
Turning in the light, she noticed a faint stretch mark on her hip. Zara snapped at one of the slaves to extend her arm. She did so without hesitation. Reaching back, Zara removed a pointed hairpin from the bountiful bun at her neck. She handed it to the slave, who dutifully pierced her palm with the sharp tip. Squeezing her hand shut, the slave dripped blood onto her mistress's hip. Zara murmured a quick spell. When the slave whipped her skin clean, the offended blemish was gone.
How many dead?
She asked.
Body count is ongoing.
A simple estimate, please.
Around 40, including Ambrose.
Zara's brow raised.
My. All the work of one crow.
We believe he had assistance, but yes.
Felicia nodded gravely.
Lucanus de la Morte is responsible.
Crispin licked his lips.
We won't be able to keep this one from the public.
He and Felicia exchanged a nervous glance.
They're already calling him the demon.
From flying vermin to malicious spirit. That's quite the promotion.
With a ribbon, Zara measured the width of her waist. The corner of her mouth ticked upward at the result.
We have reason to believe you could be the next target.
Felicia said.
Your place in the magisterium puts you at risk.
Crispin elaborated. His tone rushed.
Worried for me, Crispin?
Zara asked. The younger man reddened, but she noticed he didn't deny it.
Don't be. I'm not a fool like Ambrose. A true Maleficar knows demons cannot be killed, only controlled. If this crow fancies himself a demon, then I look forward to using him to his full potential.
Zara finished.
How?
Crispin asked.
Never underestimate the power of observation.
Zara lectured.
I'll keep a low profile. That should entice him to move on to more exciting prey.
Zara finished.
But he'll continue killing Venatori.
Felicia pointed out.
For which he'll be duly punished. In the meantime, we practice patience.
Zara paused to marvel at herself. Every feature and proportion were in perfect symmetry, and yet, when she smiled, there was something ugly behind it.
Freeing Ambrose's slaves already tells us that this crow has a heart. He will reveal other flaws, and we will exploit every last one of them.
Finished! I know you guys, everybody in the Discord didn't actually hear that, but that was Sasha doing it, and it was absolutely fantastic. Everybody needs to go back and listen to it.
Listen back to it.
She was
Rewind
brilliant.
and listen to it retroactively.
She was brilliant, but unfortunately there wasn't a way we could sync it up, but she was fantastic. Thank you everybody for flipping the Wigmaker job. That was the most people we've had for this one. Everybody, give everybody a round of applause in the chat. Honestly,
so much fun.
We honestly, technical difficulties happen, but we appreciate everybody's patience. But it just happens. We can't oversee that. That just comes with the flow of doing these things live. But massive flipping round of applause to our main stars, Lucanus and Ilario. You both did fantastic. The chemistry was insane. Nubel and Haven, that was absolutely fantastic. And then our main villain, Ambrose, Justin, fantastic. Oh, Sasha's in the chat now, brilliant. Sasha for doing Zara. Yeah, Justin, you were fantastic. And then having Effie with Emily, and then having Crispin with Crispin and Felicia with Waxy and with Tiny, and then having our dwarf Half Pint. You were all fantastic, as well as LB being Athema and Camille. You were all brilliant working in chemistry together, honestly. You have Major Riz, Lord help us all, is what Villainous Kitty says, to put it in a word.
We will hear it.
And Sasha, you're amazing too. Everybody in the voice chat needs to listen to it because she was fantastic. She was spot on there.
I saw the same thing in
Yeah.
chat, so I really need to.
Fantastic.
I plan to watch this afterwards.
Hell yeah.
I turned up the stream a little bit to like hear her. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
I was like, hello.
I'm so sorry, my Wi-Fi.
Honestly, it
That's all right.
happens. It happens.
It's all right.
It happens.
The important thing is we got it at the end, though.
Yes.
Actually,
Mhm.
so-
Yeah.
There was bits of it in the middle, but that was really it. Like the main bulk of the intro sorted. It was tiny bits in the middle. Honestly, it was unavoidable in those scenarios. I appreciate everybody's patience, but that just comes with the nature of these things. So many people, we're not all going to have consistent connection.
No, and it's also on live, so it's not really, can't re-record stuff and shit. So that's.
I'm also in America, so maybe that also kind of had some issues.
It sucks here.
Yes.
Accurate.
I was scared it was my connection first. I was like, oh no.
No, it'll just be all of us amalgamated connections of.
Yes.
It was Gillinan.
Across you. Yeah, it was Gillinan actually. That's what it was.
Gillinan, yes.
It was Gillinan
Blame it on
fixing the
Gillinan.
Wi-Fi. How dare she?
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, she was like, you know what? I'm not going to let them finish the story. I don't like that, Ilario.
I did the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Damn.
Man, that was so much talking.
Yeah,
That
flipping heck.
was-
Wasn't it? Yeah.
Whew.
Oh. No, Sasha, your
tried my
voice was
best.
on. You did. Everybody
You
did
did
fantastic.
great. You two
Honestly,
really
I forgot.
sounded like cousins. It
You
was
don't
so
even
good.
sound like I
Yeah.
forget that you're American. I'm like flipping like what? Like the talent is
Yeah.
insane. It's
I
I
crazy.
embraced my inner Zevran for
Hell
this.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, we
That's
did it.
amazing.
I've
It was
also been like
fantastic.
practicing for the last
yeah?
since I got the role. I've been practicing.
Oh, you were
did really
amazing.
well.
You were amazing. Amazing.
Thank you.
I was
It
like,
was.
a Spanish
You all
person's
were
in the chat.
amazing.
Kitty says best reading so far. I'm weak in the legs.
Oh, good.
Honestly, the
Yeah.
chemistry was insane. It's like you two would rehearse that. Like it was brilliant.
I was so happy. Like, you were so amazing as Lucanus. Oh my
Oh,
god.
yeah. Yeah.
It was
Oh.
very good.
That's why I was like, I can't let you guys hear it before we start.
Oh
Like,
didn't
yeah,
hear
no.
it before
The
we
surprise.
started.
The surprise. I love the surprise
Oh no,
of
Kermit
like
the Frog has come back.
Kermit the Frog guard was a true highlight. Thank you, Kitty. Thank you.
I was on the floor hearing Justin as the Wigmaker. I was
Yes.
not
Oh, so
expecting
good.
him to be
Yes.
so, like calm and sultry as a villain. I was like,
Yeah.
ooh, not what I was
Terrifying
expecting.
villain.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
And then
I
Emily's
tried.
childlike F as well. Effie was
Yes,
brilliant.
Yeah.
I love
The
it.
innocence.
It was so
Effie was
precious.
so cute.
You could feel the innocence.
Little baby.
Little baby.
Must
I've never
be
felt so bad
right.
about my role in anything because of her.
Oh no.
I'm not used to playing a character where I have to sound sweet. Normally when I read anything, my voice tends to drop lower, so I have to like force it up. So a little fun fact is before this, I was singing some Celine Dion
Oh.
to try to
Yeah.
up like the song that like she has a higher voice
Yeah.
for, and I was like, I gotta just keep you up here, stay up here, stay up here. Yeah,
worked.
child.
Oh, it was spot on. It was
It
spot
did.
on.
But anyway,
So
you all were
thoughts,
amazing.
thoughts on the Wigmaker job? What do people think of
I-
Larry on Lucanus?
Oh, that's so
I
good. Well,
wonder.
first of all, he did grow a beard. He sure
did?
guys.
I
He
wrote that
grew
down
the
in my
beard.
notes.
Yeah.
But like, I also, I really hope that we get to fight abominations that look like,
Oh,
you know,
flippin'
the
heck,
ones in this
yeah.
story.
Yes.
I wanted to.
Their
say
abominations
Body
something
horror
about
is
Ray.
unreal.
Yeah,
There
it
was
so
straight
good.
up a line where he's like, where was it? Lucanus had seen many abominations, but never one like this. How has he seen so many abominations?
Yes!
Where has
Yeah,
he been?
yeah.
Who has he been
I guess
killing
that's why
that
he's the
many
major
abominations?
killer, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
Looks like a
Good point.
specialization for his contracts or something. I don't know, but that's what I
Yeah. And then, for people who already know, please don't spoil it. We're just talking about this novel. But he's got a connection to the Fade. He
Yeah.
feels in his eye or
Yeah.
his mind. And it's like, bro,
Yeah, you
what's
feel
going on?
like
here?
an itch in the back of his
Yeah.
eye, right?
And it's like, bro, you're a rogue.
Other
you know,
weird
what you
little
got connected?
sentences like that I highlighted where it was like, whoa, how is he able to do that? No, that's something else I highlighted.
Oh yeah. What? Oh, now you have to say, Waxy.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I was just really laughing. I'm going through just looking at my highlighted notes. When they were talking about the Tevinter parties, how they're
Yeah.
all known for their excess and all their food and all the drink, and I was like, this is 100% drawing on Roman culture and Roman civilization, and we already knew that for Tevinter, but really getting into that,
Yeah.
Lucanus walking.
I hope
into
we walk in on an orgy in the game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yes.
kind of
Oh,
want to.
and how he escaped that as well. Like,
Right.
Yeah, like, okay.
How did
Okay.
you escape that?
Maybe that's a story he'll tell us in dialogue when you talk to him.
Yeah,
Tell us
yeah.
of an interesting
how
job.
Yeah.
how she set up the setting for this story, like
Oh my goodness.
the way
That's
that
really
she
good,
set
yeah.
up the setting of the mansion and everything. It felt like I was there in a game, so I
Yeah,
really
going through
appreciated
it.
the set design.
Yeah.
It gave me goosebumps when I first read it. Once you got to the part where you were in Ambrose's little dungeon.
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
oh,
Yes.
this is so creepy.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, yeah, they were like amputated at the knees and
Mhm.
stuff. I was like,
When I
oh my
was reading
god.
that, I was like, that is
And
fucked
Lucanus
up.
knows because he knows what a dislocated shoulder looks and feels like.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I did
I was
make
happy
me
we went
wonder-
there. We were going there.
Yeah, and I was just like, how are these people still alive? Yeah, probably blood magic, but I'm just
Yeah.
Yeah.
they're just
Red
hanging
Mary
there
and
for who
blood
knows
magic,
how
man.
long, growing their hair. It's just, oh
The
god, I
pain.
kept thinking more and more of like how that could work, and
Yeah.
every possible answer I came up with was worse than the one before.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Oh, I
Just
found the
growing
other.
little hair factories.
I found the other thing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I don't like making this comparison because it feels disingenuous sometimes, but I really feel like from this story, he is written as at least a neurodivergent at the least, because like there's a lot of things in here that I'm like, oh, this is very like maybe it's the way he was raised by the crows. I haven't read Eight Little Talents, so I don't know what's coming up next, but like the way that he describes it, like with slow, controlled breaths, Lucanus flushed the rage pumping through his veins until he could think clearly. Like that level of like body control and like mental control is huge. Like I just really appreciated that. They're like going into that.
Yeah,
But,
that
like his really, really
control.
strong sense of justice that they're talking about. And he's like, you're the vengeancey one. And like
Yeah.
not much can make him feel fear and not much can move him to act for others. But when he does, he goes all out. And I thought that was just a
Mhm.
really interesting
Oh, for sure.
character trait.
Yeah.
He takes it like to heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You've
yeah.
upset my delicate sensibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Kitty. Yeah.
Acoustic.
I
I
don't
was
know.
laughing my ass off. I was like, acoustic.
Oh, when you're in the zone, I'm like,
Yeah.
Also, the disembodied one, what was it?
I don't know.
I was like laughing my ass off. Yeah,
Dissembled.
dissembled. I was
Not
like,
disembodied, they're just disassembled.
just dissembled.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that so much.
Oh.
There was like a few times where you were like reading something and like mispronounced a word. I was like, he's got it. Like,
Yeah, just, yeah.
It's fine.
It's
he's
fine.
got it.
Yeah.
I cannot judge as
I
someone
gave up at
that's,
the globe
not
because
English.
there was
The way
I'm like-
you were trying to pronounce it made it like
Stutter.
sound what it's supposed to be like.
That's
I was
the
like,
thing.
yeah, I mean that's close enough. Yeah.
I like
Somebody
I
told me
like
that even
Jack's
when
version more.
Thank you. So I got a comment once. Even when somebody said that even when you say words wrong because you're British, you make it sound right, and I'm like, I like that.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's true.
Yes.
I'm like not native English speaker, and several times I was like, I don't know how that word is pronounced. Huh. I don't know if that's it, but it sounds
I
right.
don't think it's that,
Saying
but
it.
There was the first like story I was a part of, there was this something that Cassandra said or something, and it was like a tongue twister, and I was like, great, this is not gonna go well.
It's like the word effervescent. I don't think I got that right. Actually, I might have said it right for the first time ever. But it described Balara as effervescent, and I was like,
For what now?
Effervescent.
I only know that because of Tumblr.
End of the day.
Effervescent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
End of the day, it's good fun to mumble up words.
I think that
One
makes it
thing
more fun than it's like, yeah, whatever. Just like,
You can read it for yourself.
yeah.
I'm trying. But
I mean, the words are right there. It's fine.
yeah.
Don't worry about it.
I think for me, I actually love Ilario a tiny bit more because of his charisma. I mean, I love them both the same, but like Ilario's charisma is so. I love it.
Ilario has
love
that
him.
kind of charisma where he is incredibly morally gray
Yeah.
and morally gay. So
Yeah.
He could make you like do something so wrong, and just his like so charismatic. You're like, oh yeah, this is right because he says it's right.
Yeah, yeah. He's intoxicatingly charismatic, and I love that. I
It
love
was
that.
so hard. I'm like, oh, I gotta be so
I
upbeat.
can't.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
really hope we get to meet him.
My
I
only
know.
problem now is that if he appears in game and he's not as like sassy and suave as you played him, Nooble.
I'm gonna be so
Yeah, we're
disappointed.
suing.
You're gonna be like, should have gotten Noodle to do
We're
his job.
suing.
The fuck?
We're suing.
Home.
Yeah. I'm gonna
Have
ring.
to-
myself,
have
guys.
to-
Gonna ring you up and be like, can you there's Ilario's here, but I just want to hear it in your interpretation instead.
I'll
You need to
I'll
get
keep
like
my, line
contact some
open.
modders, like and insert.
You're like, this is
I can't
good.
wait to see how Ilario reacts, because in the Wake, that short story, he thinks Lucanus is dead.
Yeah.
And I can't wait for him to realize that it's not. And like, I want to see that
Yes.
dynamic and how that all plays out. I'm
That better
so
be on
looking
screen.
forward to
That
that.
better be on screen.
It better
We
be,
don't
yes.
have
I'll be
any-
so mad if it's not.
Yeah.
Maybe
We don't
it'll
have any
be
stories explaining like what happened,
Why?
though, right? Like I
Yeah.
have no idea why he's
Yeah.
presumed dead.
It was it like
Maybe
faking
just-
his death
Yeah,
or what?
we just assume because of it, the last bit in the story is Zara and Nata being like, right, we're going to go kill him. And that's
Yeah.
it. We assume that because they're after him. But then again, he even says before every Venatori is after him, or he said something about he's used to being chased by Venatori. So why in particular is Zara and Nata kind of like, in particular, a threat or a particular formidable threat compared to every other opposing Venatori? So something must happen or must have happened that makes him want to.
Yeah.
Or
and
does he want to
Sasha-
fake his death because Katerina has said that Lucanus is the next heir? So if he fakes his death, then Ilario is the next heir biometrically by death
Default.
or whatever. By default, that's the word.
Yeah.
So he fakes his death, pretends to the crows he's deaf. Ilario knows that, makes a massive spiel about, Lucanus is dead, pretending. So they definitely think he's dead, and that's why,
That's kind of.
and then they go,
that's
okay,
how
well,
it
Ilario has to be the next talent.
We already
Yeah.
know Ilario is a huge overactor, anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
Really
Exactly.
can't.
If anybody could do it, it's Ilario. It's a lot.
But he was so drunk. I felt like his true like feelings came
Also
out, and I really
true.
think he believes
Also
that,
true.
or they need him to believe Lucanus
Yeah.
is dead. And that's why, like in the short story, he's like so heartbroken. He's like saying like it should have been me, making me think like maybe they like captured Ilario and used
Yeah.
him as bait, and that's
shit,
how
yeah.
like Lucanus quote unquote dies, and that's like
true.
why he's so
Yeah.
guilty.
And that brings to the point Sasha said he feels guilty. True. So why would he
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
guilty? Yeah, it's true. Why would he feel guilty?
Yeah, what did he do?
Unless he's being so melodramatic, but I get it. It's hard to be melodramatic and speak on like from experience. When you're that drunk, it's really hard to lie as well. Like so, it's like how can
It
you be
is.
so melodramatic, drunk, and then also he's feeling guilty? Like it kind of feels
So
like he's guilty
believable.
from-
No
yeah.
spoilers in the chat. No spoilers in the chat. Shut up, chat. No
Yeah,
spoilers in the chat.
No spoils. No spoils. No spoils. No
I'm
spoils.
kind of
chat.
grateful my cat's off to
Yeah,
the side.
chat, we're not We're just. This is Rook Club. This isn't Spoiler Club. This isn't dissect the gameplay that people have already played. This is we are talking about this story. Please do not spoil it for anybody else. We are just talking about the story. No spoils.
The Wake was already like released a while ago, so everybody knew about that, which is
Yeah.
why I was talking about that.
I
I
know
have
we're
not
talking
read it,
about
but I
we're
don't
talking
care
about
about
content before the embargo. I'm gonna get my phone so I can delete comments. Nah. You got a little an angry little crow growl from Jack.
Angry bird sounds.
Yeah. I need to get on my phone and delete the messages.
No problem, guys, no problem. I know.
So I
many
have
people
some notes.
already watched it.
Oh,
Ooh, I love
Emily,
notes.
hit us, Emily.
I don't know where to begin. There's a couple of them, and some of them I worry that they may be. No, they shouldn't be because they shouldn't be spoiler territory. I'll start with the first one, I suppose. That should be easiest. The fact that the seal, it was on page 268. The seal having 2 dragons on it that represent the Venatori. I find that interesting. For reasons.
Yeah, because I thought they were more snake-like.
Oh, 2 dragons. 2 dragons.
Specifically
2
dragons.
2 dragons.
I think you're onto something. Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm pretty sure we could talk about it because that is before we all kind of knew.
But
So it's
Yes. Yeah.
maybe the Venatori knew about the premise of this game before we did.
It got linked to the Venatori.
Venatori
knew
knew
all
it.
about the gods.
Did
Come
you-
back and they're like, bet.
Yeah.
God damn it, Meredith.
Did you not hear that the Venatori played the game early and actually
Fair?
Dude, they were beta testers. Holy shit.
yeah, they're the beta testers, yeah.
Yeah, when in the last story, when Aelia was like, when Ranthus is broken, actually talking about bugs in the game.
Oh, yeah.
Setting
Oh, it's the
Minrathus
alpha
buggy
stages
as
of
hell,
the
guys.
game.
Yeah. Oh, man. Venatori know all about it.
Mm-hmm.
Early access.
All right, well, I guess that's the one. I guess I'll move on to the next. Let's see. Oh, yes. It is the next page, 270, where it talks about the burned or the scorched Venendal. And I'm just wondering if we're going to see that specific one in the game.
Oh, I hope so. Yeah.
I would
really hope so,
assume.
too.
I really hope so.
That, yeah.
Voted by random.
Especially
Yeah.
since it has a door attached to it. I mean, that would be
Yeah.
a really cool level for a game.
Brilliant.
You
Yeah.
just reminds
I know I'll just be
In The
playing
Sims-
an elf and start crying.
I also think because the secret door is there, like it's the alienage, right? And you've got the shadow dragons trying to, bring more equality to Tevinter and abolish slavery and everything. And they're very much against the Venatori. I'm pretty convinced that Athema, the elf I played, that she's actually part of the shadow dragons because she snuffed out the Veilfire and stuff. So I think she's a maid.
Yeah, that'd be brilliant. Yeah.
What if
I'm
it was
thinking-
the Oh, you first.
Yeah, sorry. No, I'm just thinking that those passages, because Lucanus says that there are multiple, that's like how the shadow dragons get around in Tevinter. And that
That'd
could
be
be just
sick.
really interesting.
Yeah.
No, it's like
Yeah.
an underground railroad thing, you know?
Somewhere, I can't remember the page, but they mentioned that it was a perk given by our mysterious benefactor. So what if it was
Yes.
the shadow dragons that hired him personally and like wanted this?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have
I think
no
so,
idea who hired him.
Is it Dorian?
Also
No,
true.
it's
That'd be
Exactly.
sick. That'd be sick.
That
No,
was
it comes
my
up
my
for me.
next note was speculating on who hired him because he doesn't say.
No.
Do we really find out?
No.
Maybe if
Int-
like you're talking to him in game, he'll like kind of elaborate or like reference this job maybe.
So,
Yeah.
That'd be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I
Do you
feel like
think
he's
it was,
gotta,
you think
right?
it was like
Mhm.
his servants? It was like Effie really was hoping that they were there. They're like, "You're the crows who are here to kill my master, right? Awesome." I wonder if it was Effie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sweet little Effie.
Well, I think
Like,
also at
"Dear
that point,
crows, please murder
because a
my
lot of
boss."
magisters. Well, at that point, I think a lot of magisters weren't they being kind of killed off specifically by the crows. So the rumors had gone around for a while, and eventually it would have gotten free and
Yeah.
specifically his slaves. So they would have all been probably sitting there hoping, praying.
Yeah, waiting
You know,
for him to come.
fingers crossed and being like, oh, I hope it's today.
Yeah.
I hope it's
Mhm.
him. That kind of thing.
I mean, she did get the help of the other slaves really quickly for those bodies. 'cause
Yeah.
How long were they down there? Not very long, right?
For like those slaves, they were like, he was godsend. Like
Yeah.
he saved them. He liberated them. Of course, they're gonna keep their mouth shut and like help him.
Okay, so the crows have already killed 8 other, I guess, Venatori magisters. 8 other dragons. I guess a dragon
Yeah.
is a Venatori.
Just Venatori in general, yeah.
Yeah, so this is the 9th one that the crows were sent out to kill. So who is doing this? Besides, I guess, what's her name from from Murder by Death, maybe.
Sidoni? No.
Yeah, I guess she was kind of murdering Venatori people too. So everybody's just out here murdering Venatori.
Everybody out
okay?
here. And that was sanctioned by Cassandra as well.
Yeah.
So that was I doubt Lucanus is on behalf of the Inquisition with it being an Antivan Crow.
And
Could be. But, you know.
No, and then like in the streets of Minrathis too.
Yeah.
Venatori are murdering Venatori, so it's like,
yeah.
Fair. That's true.
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
Venatori are just getting screwed.
They are. It makes me wonder how big they've grown as well. I know we talked about last stream about, it makes sense for them to continue after their god's been defeated, because that's literally the definition of a cult. But I do wonder, like, how clearly if they've killed already 8 magisters and this was then their 9th or their 9th Venatorian member, how massive it is in Tevinter. Because yes, it was big, and obviously Corypheus' army made the Venatori, but it's clearly got an even wider connection 10 years on in Tevinter, which is insane.
There's got to be so many.
And something that I do wonder is I kind of want to see Felicia Erimond in the game, just because we killed her brother. Well, the Inquisitor killed her brother Erimond in Inquisition. Just a fun little connection. It'd be like, ha! But we'll see. But
Thought you saw the last of me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There is another just little note here that doesn't have to be talked about really or anything, but it's on page 278 where Lucanus is in, I'm guessing, the palace or the home that Ambrose has, and he's talking about the mosaic and how it has of the past archons and all of that kind of stuff, and how it's all just completely blinged out. And it reminds me of the mosaic we read about in Horror of Hormek. I'm wondering if it's proving the point that they're replicating things that the ancient elves did.
Yeah.
Also doing mosaics as testimonies to previous times, and it's like, where did they learn that? That type of thing, because it's their idea.
Art forms and stuff.
So, yeah, exactly.
I can't wait to see Tevinter get like the shock of their life when they realize it was the elves all along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
all along.
Great Tevinter, right?
And the last one that I have. Oh.
No, go for it. I had one more too, but you probably ended up talking about it.
I mean, it's not a great, interesting point, but it was just. So in the game, in Inquisition, we never really got to see how or if those artifacts could be destroyed.
Yeah.
Those ancient artifacts. And Lucanus destroys one, and when he does,
by just stabbing it.
Yeah, he just stabs it, and I'm like, it makes me sad. I kind of wish there was like a bigger explosion.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Because they were so important.
Like, because I've just played Awakening, right? And the difference between the Inquisitor needing like the mark from the orb to close rifts, and then the Warden's just like, I'm gonna stab it until it closes. Maybe it's like that. It's like some people can just do it with stabbing, but for others it's a bit more dramatic.
Villainous Kitty says that Ambrose's name reminds them of the dog from Labyrinth, which is Ambrosis. Brilliant movie. I love that movie.
I need to rewatch it.
Yeah, so long.
Doesn't the word Ambrose have something to do with that? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. My bad.
I was just looking at like the final line that Ambrose says, and he's like, one day someone will turn your work against you.
Ooh.
Only then will you have some semblance of the emptiness you've made me feel.
Oh.
That has to be foreshadowing, and I haven't watched any of the canons, so I don't know yet. But someone turning his own work against him, someone turning the crows against him, sounds a little spicy.
It does.
Ooh.
You said like
Betrayal.
turning the crows against him, but my mind immediately went to like a zombie army of all the people he's killed.
Oh shit.
Which
Oh
would
my.
also be hard to deal with, I guess.
Yeah.
He's killed a lot of people, yeah.
One day.
Turning
Yours
his
makes
own
no
work
sense.
against
Work
him.
again. Like, what would his work be? He kills people, so how would you turn killing people against him? Does he
He
kill
has
the
to
wrong?
kill his cousin.
No!
No, don't say it.
Oh no,
Oh,
don't kill me!
say
What?
it.
Don't put it
Don't
out.
do that to me.
What if,
Don't put it out
Stop it.
there.
No.
what if they
He's gonna have to choose. He's gonna have to choose between like taking out vengeance on like his arch enemy or saving his cousin.
or what if it's like they put out two contracts, one on Ilario and one on Lucanus, and then they hope that they kill each other, and like maybe that's why in the wake Ilario's like it should have been me, because either of them has to die. Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because if you don't finish your contract, your life is void. Like they think you're gone, not part of them anymore. Maybe.
So angsty.
Chat is not a fan of
I love it.
Chat is saying no. Stop putting it into the universe. Take it back. Take it back.
Too late. It's in the universe.
Don't speak it into existence. Yeah, it's in the universe.
Oh, he
I mean,
needs
hey,
angst in order to continue brooding.
Nobody confirmed this because I haven't seen it. But hey, if people saying Varric's gonna die, then Ilaria gonna die.
I'm
Eric is
to
going
be
to die. I'm gonna cry.
same. I'm gonna be so heartbroken if he dies. I'll be okay if like Varric has a good send off, like everybody's
Yeah.
been saying, but
Yeah.
it's still gonna hurt
It's
so
gonna.
bad.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Oh,
I will like drop everything and then just go cry in a corner somewhere for a bit and be like, I don't like this anymore.
No.
just like push the pause button and be like, okay, I'm gonna go find my corner now.
I mean, I'm really glad we have a
Need a
pause
drink.
button, because, like they
Definitely.
said, we can pause at any time. Because I already
Yes.
know. I don't know what happens, but at some point, I'm going to cry.
Oh yes, me
Oh.
too.
I'm gonna cry before I even play the game. Like I'll be downloading and I'm like,
Oh.
yeah.
And then
Sarah.
the main menu pops
I'm
up,
gonna
and then we
cry.
cry even more.
I'm crying. Yeah,
I'm
I'm
gonna
definitely
cry when I
going to
see,
cry when the main
Try to
menu
hear
comes
Varric's
up.
voice.
I'm
Keep
gonna cry
crying.
when I
Get into
hear
character
the
creator.
And then you create your
cry.
Inquisitor, and then you cry.
I'm gonna
And
cry
then
when
cry.
I
Oh my goodness.
And then
So
I'm
much
gonna cry
tears.
when I
It's
hear
gonna be a lot
Varric
of tears.
narrating.
And then Solas pulls out a shotgun and shoots Llewellyn.
No.
I'm joking.
Or just a fucking deagle.
And then they're like,
or
this
something.
ain't a
Like, oh,
fantasy
God, yeah.
RPG. This is EA's new live service multiplayer game. And they're making it multiplayer. And they're going, screw you. You don't want a Dragon Age game. You want a live service. I'm joking.
Oh, it's Apex
Oh, yeah.
with Dragon Age.
Yeah.
Bloomer Stand podcast is making such a good point. If Varric dies, our storyteller dies.
Oh, don't
How can
say
we continue the
that.
story
Right.
without our storyteller?
We can't
No.
finish the story.
Oh.
We can't finish the story.
Oh my
No.
god. Veilguard
Oh my
empty the
goodness.
cliffhanger.
How will we have to? How will we
better
go
not.
forward if he dies? You were
We
right.
can't
The
finish the story.
storyteller.
We can't finish the story. The story ends. It's
There's
done.
no story.
That's
It's
it.
like
No
Bloodborne
next
Frodo,
game.
and he gives like the book he's writing to someone else who has to finish it for him.
If your Hawk's still alive, he gives it off to
Oh,
Hawk.
don't!
Stop it, I'm-
don't,
I'm crying again.
Stop it.
What if your hawk isn't still alive?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. fair.
Oh,
And
then,
he gives it
then it literally is goosed. It's not. It's
Happily.
not.
to be
Yeah.
the Inquisitor or Harding. He's gotten pretty close to Harding, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. I've got a tinfoil hat theory.
Oh yeah. Hit me.
Okay.
What is it?
So maybe because I know some people out there are like, we want enough with the elves. What if the next game is about the Titans? And it's Harding who betrays us
Oh.
because of the whole Titan
No.
thing. That's because she's an apostate now.
Yeah.
Ben.
So
Bet.
that's my tin
And-
hat theory.
And to be fair, if you think about it, the Inquisition as a faction ain't really going to have that much weight, let's be honest. So what if she resembles the Inquisition, but what if she's actually going to emerge to resemble another faction? I.e. the Titans, or some Lost kind of faction, or something dwarfy.
That'd be really cool.
I think, yes, you're going to get a bit of the Inquisition stuff, but really it's going to have some weight, obviously. But I think that there might be some plot twists regarding that, if she's going to be an apostate, going to have some dwarf connection to magic. I feel like it could be about finding that for her, and then I don't know, but that's just my kind of theory out there too. If her personal narrative, I assume it's going to be about finding herself, finding the magic, the origin of it, her getting used to that power, that kind of thing. But what's that going to unfold? It'll be brilliant to see.
Because it's all like foreign to her. She has no idea. Like she's never dwarves unheard of, so she has nobody to turn to.
Literally, the only person would be Volta. It would be literally Volta, and she's Dagna. Or Dagna, yeah. Oh, please bring back Dagna.
Yeah, Dagna went to the madness.
Yeah.
I wonder if she's
I
going to
love
start
a little
dreaming
Dagna
as well.
cameo.
Yeah.
I also wonder if the Netflix series would play any.
Oh yeah.
That'd be great. To be
Not
fair.
significance, but some type of storyline in it.
Yeah, I'd like to hear about because it takes place maybe a couple years before the game of Veilguard, and I'm hoping they reference it, but not talk too much about it. So if they want a second season, they can continue it, and that way it's contained to its own thing.
We need a season 2 confirmation of that, because we don't even know anything.
I doubt it will happen because
I know.
it got
Netflix.
very negative reviews.
Did it? Oh,
This is true.
Did it, honestly?
Recently, I don't know if it was on Twitter or somewhere else, that someone who I think went to the event asked John Epler about it, and he also said we want to continue it, but it's complicated and we can't really give an answer because that's
because Netflix has rights to it.
Yeah.
Right.
Netflix.
People think
But
that
I'm
this will
curious about where
be
that
the
goes.
last Dragon Age game, which is, it's definitely plausible.
I hope
It is
not.
possible. I hope not. I want there to be more than just the elves. I want to go into the Titans, possibly being the next big baddie. And like I said, I watched your one video on Mythal. I love that. That is my new headcanon. I love that theory so much.
Yes. I honestly think it makes so much sense. She's eponymous of the games. People say that in Stolen Throne, it was a dragon that it was the first. Obviously, the Dragon Age is named after the first sighting of a dragon. What if that was literally Mythal, as she appeared in Stolen Throne anyway to guide Marek and Loghain in order for then Marek to leave the throne when he came of age, when he had Alistair to go to the Silent Grove, etc. And then for it to be actually all the lingering consequences. She's pushed the Therinfall bloodline, she's pushed the Hero Ferelden, she's pushed Hawk. Now she literally, the Inquisitor could literally be bound to her, or Morrigan. She has, her urging has behested every single protagonist. What is
She's
that for?
been in every game.
What? Yeah, and the books too. What is that for? What's gonna happen with that?
What is her goal?
Yeah.
I love the theory, Jack, that all the old god souls are all just part of Mythal. I've always thought there were a 1-to-1 correlation with the elven gods, but I never thought about that before. Why else would she be collecting all the souls?
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
I think
And,
maybe when they
Tevinter-
killed her, they separated her, or I don't know, but maybe that's what it could be, because they're all dragons anyway.
Straight up, Soldier says he's the first of my people can't be killed.
Yeah.
Bro, it makes sense
they
because
killed
that's
us.
literally also it ties back to, a lot of different myths where the gods were killed by separating their body into different
Literally.
pieces,
Literally.
buried apart from each other. So that's Egyptian mythology, that's Norse mythology, so many. Japanese mythology. Damn.
Yeah,
Crazy.
literally. So it's definitely something that I really, really want, because I think right now we're going to get to little bit of spoilers for people who don't want to know about the nature of the Elven Gods, but I think we're not talking about post-embargo spoilers, but we know that currently we have 2 Elven Gods and we have Solas to deal with. Right, what's the narrative got left? You got the Titans. I mean, there's a lot. The 5 remaining 7 Magisters. The Architect, if he's still alive. the Blight as a whole, but you can wrap that up with the Titans. But it all does go back to the pre-Veil times of the Elven Empire, and all the mad shit basically ties to that. The Titans, the Blight, the Dwarves, the Seven Magisters who found the Blight and brought it back. But yeah, what's left? You've got the Titans to wrap up, you've got Mathal
I
lingering
really
there.
want to know how the
So it's-
Kunari came to be.
The Kunari as well,
Yes.
which can wrap up with the Tevinter plotline.
Yeah.
Or
My tinfoil hat theory
yeah.
is that Yelanan created them.
I
them
kinda
to be
like
super
that.
slave.
I like that, yeah. That's good.
Mm,
Yeah. But there is sort of like right now we're going to be answering so many questions, but what's left? Well, from the Elven God's point of view, if all the 5 are already dead, Solas is left, and you know who, and the 2 Pantheon who are left for the Veilguard. That just leaves Mathal. That literally is just Mathal.
And the Maker.
Oh, no.
Hey.
No. I don't want them to confirm like the Maker or anything. I want that to be still like enshrouded in mystery. At least keep something like out there. And same with like Andraste's like connection with the Maker. I kind of want that still a little bit gray area.
Yeah.
I kind of want the Maker to just be some random spirit that just thought it would be funny.
Lol.
It's like
Thank you,
some
Villainous
jester
Kitty.
spirit or something.
And Villainous Kitty
I'm
says
bored.
the Kossif,
Go
the
harass
Scaled
them.
ones, the Void, Titans, there's still a lot lingering, but I think a lot of that... The thing about the Veilguard that I'm most excited for is apparently Corin Bush in an interview with Mr. Matty Play said they're not thinking about DLC currently. Doesn't mean that DLC won't come out, but they're making this game to be as complete as possible without having your Witch Hunt DLC that they're going to make in 5 months' time, without having your Legacy DLC, or without having your Trespasser DLC. They're making the Veilguard to answer every single question so that we're not waiting for DLC, and that we're going to get all the answers to this game in one complete package, and then they will go forth and do
actually love
DLC
that.
if they
Yes.
want to. Me too.
That
Yes.
also-
And the thing
That
is, like,
also
But
wraps
it's
it
not
up
a la
with them. Like if
Trespasser.
yeah, and the
if
thing
they
is, only
can't do another
25%
game, like-
of players who played Inquisition actually played Trespasser. 25% of them bought the DLC and played them. That's crazy.
that's crazy.
What do you
It's
mean?
insane.
Why?
So
Literally.
sad.
It's crazy.
So sad.
I had been waiting for everything since like I beat the
Yeah.
original game. I was
Yeah.
like, I'm ready for the next game. It
Right
has
now.
to come.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I heard about Trespasser, I'm like, take my
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
Man.
And then 10 years later, just like, where is it?
But I love
Yeah.
that. And that means that we're getting a lot of conclusions, a lot of answers. And so whatever's left of that, next game material or DLC material, whatever they plan to do. I hope next game personally, but whatever they do with the amount of content we're apparently getting in the next game, with the 3-act system, and then they're going to go from there. So
Yeah,
I'd
it
just
says
say
Villainous
35
Kitty.
days.
Villainous Kitty says, I feel like the Forgotten Ones might be touched upon in Veilguard. And I
Yeah.
kind of want to like
Yeah.
know more about that too, yeah.
for sure.
I
Yeah,
I
honestly
think
so.
it's all
do
connected, so I think we will see something. Because that's I've just always thought that like all of that stuff was connected in some way.
For sure.
The Soulless story like goes hand in hand with like the Evanurus and the Forgotten One, so I feel like they have to say
And the
something about it.
Titans.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I feel like there will be spoilery ways that I won't mention where they can answer that without revealing too much, but at least touching upon it. And the same goes for everything that happened in the past that we know based on codices from Trespasser that I'm so
Yeah.
excited to get answers to in some way tangibly see. Even if it's murals in the lighthouse or whatever, I'm excited for that.
So here's
Want
how
all-
I think they're gonna like move the series forward. I think we're gonna get answers to all of the questions we've ever had. I think they're gonna wrap up all those threads in this game. And the next game, like you said, is either probably gonna be about Mathal and starting a completely new chapter on all the storylines.
Yeah.
So it's like
Ooh.
Yeah.
we're not gonna be revisiting themes of the past. We're going we have the whole lore established. Now we're reaching the conclusion
Fresh
of like
start.
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
Which I
so
love.
now
Post-Veil
Fresh start.
world.
Totally.
I mean, the other highly fan-servicey thing that a few of my friends really want is Dragon Age 5, Mathal is the big bad, dealing with a Blight finally, as it being some kind of organic material. Maybe it's a Blight, maybe it's a Titan. And then you get all of your previous main heroes as companions, and you go full-on in the epicest quest yet. Now, that sounds amazing, but I don't know the realistic...
That sounds a little like some Mimi DLC thing.
It's basically the Citadel DLC for Mass Effect, but as a
Citadel
fan service.
DLC,
Yeah.
not the Citadel DLC version.
It sounds amazing, but we all know that if they make our former companion, our former main characters, nobody's gonna like them because
Yeah.
they're not gonna do it
Yeah.
right. They're
Yeah.
already complaining with how Hawk was done.
It's true.
And
Oh, I
they're
love
like
Hawk.
scared for the Inquisitor now. So it's like that was
Yeah.
only a very small scene and quest that, well, not a small quest,
Yeah.
but small portion of the game where they appeared in. If all of them are like your previous characters and everything you say to them is made by someone else, it's not gonna feel yours anymore. So I don't think they will ever do
It's
that.
true. And
I
also,
get
your
it.
hero for all will be dead. I mean, if they're doing it, it's already been 20 years.
And they're Warden as well.
Yeah,
So
and
Hero of
Yeah.
Ferelden,
Duncan said,
really
like,
believe that
dudes on the
we're going to
calling.
30
see the
years.
conclusion of this hero of Ferelden this time around. The timelines line up. Either
Yeah.
they're going to say, yeah, they did not find a cure to the calling and they dead now,
Yeah.
homie.
Yeah.
Or they gonna,
no.
or we're literally going to help them find the cure for the calling
Yeah.
in this game.
I
Like,
would
one or the other.
scream if we visit the Fade and there's just some random tombstone and it says like the hero of Ferelden.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
All they said to courtesy.
No.
Hey, they found they cured the calling and they're living in a fantasy cabin in the middle of nowhere with Liliana. They're enjoying life. Goodbye.
Perfect.
Mhm.
Okay. That's fine with me.
Yeah.
They went off into the deep roads with Alistair for their calling or something like that.
yeah.
Depending
Oh.
on who you romance and
Yeah.
how everything ends. They stayed at home with Morrigan, raising Kieran until he had to go to his calling. Like,
Yeah. And it's been, again, fan servicey. I wouldn't mind it fan servicey, but just, they've tried to
Yeah.
bring the hero back in Inquisition. It didn't work. They've really, really tried. They tried to bring the architect back as well, and they didn't find it to work, and that's fine. I appreciate that. And now it's not going to work in a game let's say Dragon Age 5 is set literally at the end of the Dragon Age, which would be another 50 years, because we're in 942, something like that. I don't know specifically right now. But we're already halfway through. Biofan told me that the original plan for the games, again, this was ages ago, was a 5-plan game. However, in that 5 initial plan, Dragon Age 2 was not a digit in that it was going to be Dragon Age Origins and Dragon Age Inquisition, and then technically Veilguard would be the third one, which makes sense from a timeline POV of being in the halfway point of the Dragon Age. But that isn't the reality. That was a plan they made. They wanted to create Dragon Age 2 because EA wanted it, but then they could describe the Mage Templar War in a more refined way. But obviously that hasn't happened. So does that mean there are 2 more Dragon Age games? Does that mean Veilguard's going to jump a lot of that content and get to some point? Is Dragon Age the Veilguard going to, it's got a 3-act based system that we know. Are we going to have a 10-year gap? We don't know. We don't know that stuff. It's all hypothetical. But like, are we going to jump, or if not that, are we going to have it all in 1 year of the Dragon Age and then jump 50, 40 years for Dragon Age 5? Is Dragon Age 5 going to end not even at the 100th point of the Dragon Age? Who knows? Who knows? It's a lot of theoretical.
yeah.
I think
I was-
Veilguard is 952 dragon, right?
Thank you. Yeah.
I think so.
I would love
It's
for
been
them to
10
do,
years
like,
since Trespasser.
30, 40, 50-year time skip, and the
Yes.
next game is like the end of the Dragon Age, and it's like things have been great for a long time.
And
There's
now
another
chaos.
dragon.
But
Like, that would
nothing
be
in
great.
this fucking world can stay fixed.
Nice.
I would love it if they like ended the like game, like the series as a whole, with like the very ending of like the Dragon Age, and like they cue like a hint of like, and here comes the next age, and like that the era of the next age, and like they can leave it at that, where it's the ending of the series, the ending of Dragon Age, and like they can leave it open where if they wanted to continue the season with
Or
a
if they
series
wanted
with
to
like
do, like,
a new
reboot.
age and a new everything, they could.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
would be cool.
It means the series could continue in a different way.
Mhm. Yeah.
And there is the demand there. As
Like a
much as
soft
people
reboot,
say,
like a soft
like Dragon Age has the demand, it abso-freaking-lutely does. Mass Effect's getting a reboot in some kind of way, set years after, it seems the Milky Way, the trilogy's events and Andromeda, combining it in some way. Surely we could have that with Dragon Age, even if, exactly, Belinda's Kitty, the
Yeah.
no gauge,
The no
the
gauge.
no gauge.
The nug age, yes!
Yes.
I want a nug!
And it's just that Nug King from the deep
Nug
road.
King.
That's what we need.
I was just the Nug King rising to power.
Mhm.
That's all we need.
Well, no, I'm pretty excited because, like, wasn't it John Epler who said, like, guys, you don't even know the kind of world state decisions you're going to be making halfway through.
shit.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I
that's
am
so
very-
exciting. That is so exciting.
I'm very excited that that the decisions are actually going to impact the game
ready.
and not be like as Inquisition where it
Oh.
didn't really matter.
I can't wait.
I'm
I can't
ready to be like, fuck
Yeah.
so many times because of the
Yes.
wrong decisions.
Imagine
I'm
choosing
ready to sit
who
there
will
for
die.
20 minutes crying about a decision.
Oh yes.
The urge to not save scum every 2 seconds is going
Yes.
Imagine
Yeah.
choosing between like the Inquisitor and Morrigan. Imagine that.
Inquisitor.
No.
They did Hawk and
My
Alistair.
Inquisitor needs to get a
No.
happy ending
They
with
did
Solus
Hawk and
Go, so
Alistair.
sorry, Morrigan.
I can see them doing
Hey,
it.
you guys want to hear my number one fear? Is that I'm going to have to choose between Fenris and Dorian.
Oh.
Oh.
Don't say
I mean,
that to me.
it's poetic because one's like a magister and the other's an ex-slave and stuff. But I mean, come on, that's so cruel.
That is cruel.
I know. That's the cruelest choice they could make me do. Like,
Shut
that's
Two
my
previous
literal
romances.
cruelest choice.
Justin's getting
Shut is
excited.
feral. Morrigan, bye.
I'm feral.
What I was thinking
Oh.
about the other day was like Solus's fate, and I was thinking about how in Baldur's Gate 3, like whether or not Gale becomes a god is not like one role. It's about a bunch of different little dialogue choices that you make.
Yeah.
And if you don't make
Yeah.
specific
Save
ones, then
some.
he'll do it. So I was like, damn, Solus is going to be like,
Oh no.
he lives or dies based on little things that
Oh,
you
it will
did,
be.
and you're not going to know which they are.
That's it. It won't be one big choice. It'll be, okay.
Little ones.
I remember that.
Mhm.
I'm going
Okay.
to get to the end of the game,
Sure.
hate
It's
where
like-
I am.
So I'm
and
just
be
gonna
like,
be
all right,
nauseous the
time to
whole
back
time.
it up 80 hours.
It's like how every single choice in Inquisition affects who will become divine, even your dialogue stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, you can overtly choose, I want this person to be divine, but whatever you choose, you always get those divine points of, oh, that's 5 points, and it's invisible, but that's 5 points to Vivienne because you said that thing about magic. Oh, that's, so it might be like that, where every tiny little thing that you say affects. So
I had forgotten about it.
That's
So
I have
maybe
never
I'm
even
not-
always
Oh my god, I'm
like
stressed.
dominoes playing up in here.
It's exciting. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait. And that's why
That's
I
one
need
of the
to,
things.
when it comes out, we're all hiding in like a vacuum of just, right, goodbye world.
Yes.
Daka says
Yeah,
Rook
we
chooses
can't-
tea instead of coffee. Solus dies.
Oh, that'd be
Tea
brilliant.
did him in.
That would be brilliant. Can you imagine death by
And
tea?
And it's that like the Dark Souls game over, like you died
You
screen.
died. Yeah.
Yeah. you died.
Yeah.
Oh, can we please drink tea in the Veilguard? Please, BioWare. Can that be an option? And you just
And
tea
then
is
I
just
want to
so
drink
sure
tea
it has
in
to.
front of Solus'
Yes.
face, just like
Yeah,
Yes.
slurping
you just
on
drink
in
tea
the
in front of
lighthouse.
him, and he's like,
Yeah.
Purple
You
rook.
just
Extra sip.
slurp,
We'll
big
probably
slurp.
get to, honestly.
Solus is literally like in front of my salad, really.
On my table where I used to cry over the villain. Really?
Yeah.
In my cup. You're using my cup.
Yeah, yeah, my special cup.
My one single
What?
cup.
Yeah,
Wait,
yeah.
He has like
What does
enchantments in
Solus's
place.
mug
So
say on it?
what
What would
if-
Solus's
oh,
mug
you-
say?
So that's greatly disapproves. I think we will wrap up now just because it's getting pretty late. But folks, thank you all so much for joining and watching us chat about the chat after, but also just joining for the Wigmaker job. Next week I am doing 2-in-1. As opposed to doing 2 separate streams, we're just going to do Generativity Dies in the end and Herald Had the Plan. Generativity Dies in the end is so fun. It's lots and lots of dialogue though. I'm going to work out the kinks of that one as well, but yeah, we're going to do 2 because we have, I believe, 6 stories left and 5 weeks to go until the Veilguard is literally here. But I do want to wrap these up 2 weeks before the Veilguard just so we can really kind of get into grips of like, getting excited over that game and screaming as it literally very, very quickly approaches. But yeah, we have 6 stories left, and that is going to be covered in I think 4 or 3 more streams. I think something like that. But yes, really, really brilliant. But again, thank you so much to Nooble, LB, Haven, Justice, Emily, Tiny, Half Pint, and Waxy for joining me for Wigmaker Job. You all fantastic, and a huge round of applause to each of you. Really, really appreciate you all joining me for the longest Rook Club we've done in terms of a cast. It is massively, greatly appreciated. And to everybody in the chat who has been just chatting away, thirsting away, really, really appreciate your comments all the way through this. It's massively, massively appreciated, despite us reading. Really, really appreciate it. But thank you again, everybody here on VC. Really, really appreciate it. And we will see you all for Generativity Dies in the end and Herald Had the Plan. Same time next week. And it'll be good fun. But again, thank you, everybody. And we'll see you later.